All sports, all the time.
There's heroes and there's legends. Heroes get remembered. Legends never die.
This is the Spoken Podcast.
Hold your ears, folks. It's showtime.
I'm your host, Lance Wadwell.
Man, that kid, he can ball, man. He can ball.
Touchdown, Kansas City!
Patrick freaking Mahomes, baby!
Let's talk some sports, because that's what we're here to do.
You are tuned in to The Spoken.
This is the Spoken Podcast, and I'm your host, Lance Twidwell, here inside the Starcade Media Studios with my guy, Trevor Twidwell.
What's good?
Episode 276 is in full swing, full motion. We're so happy to be here with you guys and for you to be here with us. Whether you were live streaming, podcasting, or YouTubing, we want to thank you so much for taking the time to be with us in this time, as we have an awesome show for you guys today, something we're really excited about. I have no idea why we're not showing our show on our broadcast on Twitter, but if you want to go ahead and jump over to YouTube, we'd very much appreciate that. We tell you guys at the top of every single show. We tell you at the bottom of every single show. If you've not already done it, go to youtube.com, hit subscribe, notify, share, all that fun stuff. We'd very much appreciate that. But most importantly, we need you guys to get in the chat, because that is what makes this show what it is, which is a ton of fun. And we love it when you guys join us every single week. We already have a couple people in there already that have been waiting for us. We've had a little bit of a late start today. We do apologize for that, guys. Some technical difficulties, if you will, but we're here today. We're here ready to go. We're hoping you guys are ready to go. We've missed you guys all week. We're here to do this. So like I said, guys, if you want to join the chat, get on YouTube. That's where the chat really goes live. That's where we have a lot of our fun, the most fun. I think we're growing there at a decent rate. We want to grow a little bit better. We want to get there a little bit better. We need your guys' help to do that. We've done really good on Facebook, on Twitter, places like that. For some reason, those are the places where we're ironically having issues. But you know what? We prevail. We keep doing this thing the way we do it, because we've been doing this now for almost 300 shows. You'd think we know what we're doing by now. But Trevor, how you doing this week, man? How's everything going for you, man?
Good, man. Technology, you love it and you hate it sometimes. I'm good, man. It's been a solid week. Hasn't been too hot this week. The weekend is here. I'm looking forward to doing the show with you as always, and spend some time with the kiddos, going to do some fun stuff. But I'm looking forward to talking some sports, man. We got some Chiefs content to kind of get to and talk about here. We got the balls kind of rolling. The season will be here before we know it, so I'm stoked, man.
Yeah, absolutely. We got a lot, like I said, a lot to get to today. I'm now just making official eye contact with everybody. Hello, how are you? Just back end stuff that just is absolutely fun, man. When you play like 9 different positions for the same team, guys, it gets fun around here. But yeah, man. So I'm really excited about this conversation we're gonna have today, because Not very often do we get to really sit here and dive too deep into the things that I feel that we've that we haven't yet already, because it's the off season, so we have to kind of relish on things. We have to kind of reenact on things. Now we really get it, like Trevor said, get to talk about things that are new, that are fresh, and I'm really excited to do that. And so I hope you guys are ready, because we have a lot to get to, and I hope that you guys are ready to chime in more than just listen, because we want to hear from you guys as well, because we do have our speaking segment where we get you guys' questions in the middle of the show. But if you have takes, we promise you we'll have those on the screen as much as possible as well. But Trevor, without further ado, man, I think everyone's ready. I know I'm ready. Hope you all ready. It is time for Lance Rants.
Gotta scream!
So there's this conversation that I've been having over the last couple of months with some guys over at Arrowhead Allies, our buddies from Starcade Media. You guys know that I've been doing that show on Tuesdays with Clint, Noah, Brian B. Shinen, and my buddy Shaggy Shane Williams. And, one of the things that I continued to press on that show, and we've talked about on this show as well, is that although winning the Super Bowl in back-to-back fashion like the Chiefs did was obviously so great, we know that 2023 was that season where the Chiefs did something that no other team has done in 20 years, being back-to-back defending champions. The ending of it all was what made it all worth it. But if we're going to be honest here for a second, we all know that last season was a rough season. we all know that watching the Chiefs last season was very rough. It was not fun at all. And I had been telling people on this show, on that show, that we have to be honest about that sometimes. It's okay to be a fan that, although loves the team and doesn't miss a single second of action of that team, it's good to still be honest about this stuff. It's good to still be real about these things and say, yeah, I wasn't like, it's like going to your favorite restaurant or hanging out with your family. Be like, dude, Trevor was kind of an asshole today. Or, you know what, that mozzarella stick wasn't very good today, Twisters. Like, there's sometimes places just, they don't deliver on expectation. They don't, or the family members, sometimes can let you down. But at the end, they'll always end up coming back and redeeming themselves. Kind of like Dumb and Dumber, where he's like, totally redeeming yourself. That's how last season was. It felt like it was a scene from Dumb and Dumber, where just, you make all these mistakes, but at the very end, you just come through, and it makes it all worth it. But let's be real, guys. It wasn't a fun season. And I've been saying that, and I've had some pushback, me and my guy, and I love him to death. Everybody thinks that him and I just go at each other's throats all the time. My guy, Brian B. Shiner from Hot 103 Jams, we've had this debate back and forth about, well, you win the Super Bowl, so therefore it's fun. No. Because I guarantee you guys, even if you ask other fan bases of teams that have won numerous championships, they will think back to those championships and think, oh, that one was a blast. That season was fun. That season, holy shit, I lost all of my hair follicles. Like, there's going to be, no championship is created equally. No journey is created equally. Everything is different, guys. And so, if you look at 2022, that season was a blast. It was the first season without Tyreek Hill. And everybody and their fucking moms doubting the Chiefs that they could do anything without Tyreek Hill, right? Remember, that was the narrative. The Chiefs will not do anything without Tyreek Hill. He is what makes their offense. And they have the most explosive offense in the league, the number one scoring offense in the league. Patrick Mahomes wins MVP. Oh, and the Chiefs win the Super Bowl. That was a fun season. I remember having a blast for the majority of that season. Yes, it had its ups and downs, but that's an NFL schedule. You're going to have ups and downs. You're going to have druthers. You're going to have issues. You're going to have injuries. You're going to have problems. But they get fixed, and they get overcome. And that's what the Chiefs did in 2022. And so for the majority of that season, we had a really good time. High-scoring games. The Chiefs are a good defense, but they weren't a great defense. They got after the quarterback, but they were 16th in overall defense. Very average. But the offense was explosive, and Patrick Mahomes, you can tell, was playing his game. Well, Patrick Mahomes confirmed this himself this week and told y'all what I've been saying for months now to the press this week when reflecting upon the 2023 season.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the end result was awesome, but I think a lot of us still have a weird feeling in our mouth because we really didn't play football the way we wanted to play all year long, and it wasn't fun. Every single week having to try to just continue to get better and better, and results not paying off the way you wanted to. It wasn't a lot of fun. We have a lot of those same guys back, and they know how that felt, and so we're going to try to prepare ourselves better this year so that we can play better throughout the season, and obviously try to end with the same result.
Not very fun, huh?
Not very fun. Did that sound like a guy that, and I'm not even trying to be negative here and add on, but did that sound like a guy that won the Super Bowl last year? Like, he's being very real and conscientious about how the season went last season. Like, make no mistake about it, guys. Patrick Mahomes wants to have fun playing football. Patrick Mahomes wants to obviously win above all things, but it's something Chris Broussard said on First Things First this week that I actually 100% agree with. He said, it's like being a knockout artist in boxing. You win like 6 or 7 fights, by decision, and then, you're not getting your knockouts. You're winning, but you're not getting your knockouts. It's not as fun. That's exactly as it is with Patrick Mahomes. They didn't have a lot of knockout victories last season. In fact, I think outside of the Bears and Chargers games at Arrowhead, they didn't have any. They were struggling to score 20 points a game. They prevailed. They overcame it. Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce lifted the offense up just enough. Defense played historically, but that was just enough to get it done. They had the hardest road, which what makes it even more impressive is the fact that it was the hardest road that any team has ever had to overcome to win a Super Bowl ever. This has been proven, guys. They had 3 straight road victories against 3 teams that were in the top 5 and plus point differential. Never happened before. And the Chiefs still overcame it. So it's very impressive what they were able to pull off. But the point is, man, is that It was not a fun season for Patrick Mahomes, not because of challenges that other teams presented, but what they presented themselves. And, the thing that the biggest point I wanted to talk about in this whole thing is that we talk about how no championship is created equally. Everyone says, well, Lance, they still won the Super Bowl, so it doesn't matter. No, it does matter, guys, because here's the point. If you go and look at how the Chiefs won their first Super Bowl with Patrick Mahomes and how they won their third, it literally could not have been any more different. What do I mean by that? Well, in 2019, when the Chiefs won their first Super Bowl against the 49ers, ironically, the third was against the 49ers as well, but they had Tyreek Hill, Sammy Watkins, Patrick Mahomes, Damian Williams, had all these weapons that they were just scoring high magnitude of points with, and a defense that was giving up 25 points per game in the playoffs. You go ahead 5 more years in their third Super Bowl, and the Chiefs' defense is playing at a historic level, giving up half as many points as they were in 2019, but their offense was scoring about 10 points fewer per game. What I'm saying is that some styles of winning don't get replicated as often. I believe the best way the best chance the Chiefs have of winning more Super Bowls is that they play more like 2019 than 2023 style. I think the 2023 style can work. But there's a reason why that one is so rare. There's a reason why that one isn't the more frequent style. And I'm sorry, I'm adjusting my light here. Isn't the more frequent style of how teams win Super Bowls. Yes, the Patriots won Super Bowls that way a lot of times, but Tom Brady still had to make some big throws. He still had to make some big plays offensively. They had to have big offensive performances. Those things still had to occur. That's the truth of it all. You still have to be able to score points at a high level in this league to win Super Bowls. And I think if you look at the Chiefs' first 2 Super Bowl victories, you saw this team was led by offense. You saw this team that had a defense that could play situational football, but wasn't leading the way. They got away with it this last time, but I don't think that's going to be what's replicated anymore. I think that Patrick Mahomes has sent the message to Brett Veach, has sent the message to Andy Reid, and I think, quite frankly, they're all on the same page. He probably doesn't even have to send that message. They probably already know this, that the best way they're going to be able to capitalize on the Mahomes era for the remainder of his career is to give him as many weapons as he possibly can and let this offense lead the way and let the defense do the dirty work. This is why I always talk about you draft defense and you pay offense. You go and get the guys that are made ready immediately for offense, and you develop your defense into what it's become under Steve Spagnuolo. That's what I think you're going to have to continue to do. Patrick also went on and talked about how he's where he is emotionally with this team coming into camp, and I want you guys to pay attention to very closely what Patrick Mahomes says, because this is a quick clip as well, but I want you to really pay attention to what he mentions first and foremost.
Oh, yeah, I'm extremely excited. I mean, we added a lot of speed. Obviously, y'all know that. But we also added just players in every single position group, and I'm excited for the offense to go out there and attack. And we have some of those young guys here at rookie minicamp, and I'm excited to get a couple days with them and get some early work in with them and timing, and then adding the veteran guys as the week goes on, and trying to just continue to get better and better. And, I mean, what better than going against our defense? I mean, it's the best defense in the NFL, and we get to go against them every single day and really show where we're at and how we can get better.
What was the first thing that Patrick Mahomes mentioned on that clip? Speed. There's excitement with speed, which is definitely what they needed. It's definitely what they added at wide receiver this offseason. There's no question about it. You get 2 burners in Hollywood Brown and Xavier Worthy. The majority of folks believe the Chiefs wide receiver room has drastically improved from 2023 because of the speed that they've added. But see, speed wasn't what was missing, nor was it ever in question in 2023. See, MVS ran a 4.340. Kadarius Toney, 4.340. Sky Moore, 4.440. Justin Watson, 4.440. And then even if you want to throw Justin Ross in there, there's a 4.540. That's 5 guys that run an above average speed for a wide receiver. This team had everything they needed at speed last season. Their issues were drops and route running. We all know this. So when I hear ESPN and I even hear Patrick Mahomes himself say, yeah, we got a ton of speed. The Chiefs got a ton of speed. Like, it's going to be fun watching this team with a bunch of blazing guys out there. That's been the story for pretty much every season that Patrick Mahomes has played as a Chief. But why was the offense struggling last season? Because the burners had no fucking hands. So though adding Brown and Worthy's illustrious speed to the room harms nothing and no one, the question is, and the question will remain, did they also bring more reliable hands with them? That is the question I'm going to be asking going into this season. See, in Brown's 5-year NFL career, his catch percentage is right under 60%. Worthy's catch percentage was about 52% last season. Granted, neither player has caught passes from anyone close to Patrick Mahomes, but neither had Sky Moore or Kadarius Toney, and they're both somehow worse than they were when they first came to Kansas City. Speed kills, but catching the ball pays the bills. If both of these burners in Hollywood Brown and Xavier Worthy can get and stay on Patrick's good side by gaining the trust of catching every pass that comes their way, they're gonna have to show that when the ball shows up, their hands will show up as well. That's the only way they're gonna be able to stay on his good side. And you know Patrick's gonna feed them the rock. And I know that because I just from the way Patrick Mahomes is already talking about Xavier Worthy in particular, Xavier Worthy isn't going to be treated like a rookie, guys, especially by Patrick Mahomes. And this next clip is going to tell you that. We'll tell you why, because he's asked a question about how is he going to let Xavier Worthy ease into his rookie campaign.
I mean, there's no easing. Like he's going to have to get out, be ready to go. We got a lot of competition on this offense. Brett Veach and Coach Reed did a great job bringing a lot of competition in. And Xavier, I mean, he got a lot of mental work in these last few weeks that he had during OTAs and minicamp, but it's time to go now. And I mean, y'all saw it with Rasheed last year and some of the throwing up days he had. I mean, and we're gonna push you to the limit and prepare yourself to be ready to go for the season. And that's not just him; that's everybody, and everybody has to have that mentality when they come into camp.
See, Patrick Mahomes is a no bullshit kind of guy. He always has been, and he's really good with media. And usually he's more of an aw shucks. Patrick uses the media a lot like Peyton Manning did. You know, it's very aw shucks and charming, and keeps you on the light side of things, and always upbeat and positive. But ever so often, you can see that fire kind of come out of his voice, kind of come out. You can, and obviously he's wearing glasses in these clips, but you can sense it in Patrick. He goes, "Oh no, I'm going to lift the veil real quick." Xavier Worthy was the guy we just traded up for in the first round, and maybe the heaviest wide receiving class ever. There are no, well, let's see what he does in a couple of months. No, Xavier Worthy has to be a part of this offense immediately. Patrick mentions the competition that Brett Veach brought in. I mean, I tend to disagree. I don't really see competition on this offense at wide receiver. I see guys that I think they're very comfortable with, but I think honestly, if we're being honest, I think if we're being honest here, there are just a bunch of bodies out there that they're going to have to figure out which ones they want to keep. I think if you look at Hollywood Brown, he's a solidified starter. Xavier Worthy, they've invested heavily in him. We know that he's going to make this team. I think outside of that, there's a lot of mystery. Obviously, Rashee Rice is making the team too. We know that the mystery is how long is he going to get suspended? When is he going to get suspended? But outside of those three names, we don't know anything. I'm making bets on Justin Watson, Mecole Hardman, Nico Remigio. I'm making bets on those guys to make the team, and I don't think the Chiefs keep 7 receivers again this year. So that leaves Kadarius Toney, Sky Moore, Justin Ross. Which of those guys are going to make this roster if they can convince the Chiefs to make this roster? And if you look at the cap structure, the contractual structure of these players, the Chiefs don't lose money. In fact, they would gain $800,000 if they cut Sky Moore. If they traded Kadarius Toney, I think it's a wash. Our guy John Harrison could probably correct me on that if I'm wrong. But the point is, none of these guys have contracts that are like can't move off. Yeah. These guys just we have to deal with it. None of these guys are safe outside of the 3 names I named first. And even Hollywood Brown only has a $7 million contract, and I think only $3-4 million of that's guaranteed. So really, yeah, I guess you could say there's competition, but it's low bottom barrel competition that they have out there. Patrick Mahomes is going to have to elevate this wide receiver room, and he knows it, and that's why he said, oh no, there's no easing. I'm going to need Xavier Worthy to go out there. And the thing that worries me, Trevor, and I'm going to hand this off to you just now because I've said what I need to say about these 3 clips. There's a lot of eerie similarities, Trevor, and how Xavier Worthy's rookie campaign is going so far and Sky Moore's. What do I mean by that? No, hold on. Just hear me out. I'm not saying they're the same player. I'm saying how it started off so far. Do you remember when Sky Moore's rookie campaign? He got that injury. I think it was a hamstring injury as well.
Yeah.
And he missed all of OTAs and rookie mini camps because of that injury. And then you saw how that season went, where he just never felt like he was on the same page with Patrick Mahomes. He was a guy the Chiefs heavily invested in with a second-round pick. Everybody was praising that pick. Remember, national people were like, oh, my God, dude, they got Sky Moore out of Western Michigan.
I forgot he was on the board.
I mean, oh, my God, yeah, this kid's got the best hands, and he's got, he breaks way through coverage and beats cover two like no one else. But he missed those important early offseason practices with Patrick Mahomes, and it cost him his rookie year, and I don't think he's ever bounced back from that. Now, I'm not saying that's going to be what Xavier Worthy goes through. What I'm saying, though, is that it's the exact same start of his rookie campaign, where he missed rookie mini camps, OTAs, because of this I think it's the exact same injury. Then he has a scare with his hand in a practice later on. Luckily, he was okay. My point, though, is injuries are already a concern for Xavier Worthy, and this is exactly what I was worried about coming into this season with him being an undersized receiver with all this pressure and expectation on him. Is he going to press? Is he going to try too hard? Is his body not ready for the league yet? Like, there's so many questions to be asked right now, and with Patrick Mahomes basically telling you, hey, bro, you got to be ready. We invested this. We traded up for you in the first round. I didn't just take you in the first round. We traded up for you when there was Xavier Leggett and Ricky Pearsall and these other guys out there that we could have taken in the first round. We could have sat at 31 or 32. We could have sat at 32 and still got one of those guys. But we didn't. We decided to sit. We decided to win up and get you. So there's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of physical issues, questions right now. And again, with the similarities of Sky Moore's rookie campaign to this one with Xavier Worthy, I do have my concerns, Trevor, about this wide receiver room as a whole, as I'm sure that shocks a lot of you. But this is where I'm at right now, man. Where are you, like, now that you've heard Patrick talk about last season wasn't fun, I'm expecting it to be different this year, I'm excited about the weapons we got, Xavier Worthy's going to have to be a guy day one. What do you think the vibe is right now at Chiefs camp, man?
I mean, I think the vibes are great because we obviously drafted a first-round wide receiver. I think people are stoked on that. Everybody, the fan base got what they wanted, right? Yep. So I think there's a lot of hype there. I'm really stoked on seeing the other guys even more than just Xavier Worthy. Jared Wiley. I'm really excited to see what he can do out there on the field, and and obviously Kingsley, and see what he becomes. But yeah, I mean, as far as the morale of the camp, I think going into a season where there's three-peat hype behind this season, I think this is the morale couldn't be better amongst fans, anyways. But I think Patrick Mahomes knows that this is real. I think Travis Kelce and Chris Jones, the pillars of this team, they know the severity and the seriousness that is this camp, and preparation for this maybe the toughest season of their careers because outside of Colorado, this is every team's Super Bowl, right? So no, I think. When it goes to Patrick Mahomes' quote about last season not being fun, I think it's obvious, and I think the people that, no offense to anybody that disagrees with it, the end result making the season look fun in hindsight. But when we were in it, it was not enjoyable. Patrick Mahomes had a rough season, statistically according to his standard,
Yep.
And he knows that. Obviously, he wants to change that this year and turn that around and have statistically a better year than he did last year in comparison. But I think he spoke for all of us who critically analyze what last season was. It was a tremendous payoff, of course, but he even said when you lose it, it sucks. That offseason's different, but when you win it, it can mask a lot of things. Is basically what he was saying. And it did, it sugarcoated the pain that we went through this past season. And, with injuries and it's just lulls and lack of depth, lack of talent, coaching woes, bad decisions at times, missed PATs and certain things we were doing at certain times of the year. So, I think Patrick's nails there, man. I think he speaks for, like I said, those who critically, examined last season. So I think he's right there. And I think he knows that he wants this season to be different, at the end of the day. And I think going into this camp, he's taking it more and more in serious, and he's becoming that veteran guy in this league now. Like you said, with like Peyton Manning-esque kind of interviews. Peyton Manning had this goofy side, but he was also very, very business-oriented when guys were messing up and guys weren't on the same page. That he has his limit. And I think last season he was far past that line that he drew of dealing with inconsistencies in his receiving core. So I think this year has got to be a change, and that's why I think that bleeds into his expectations for Xavier Worthy. being ready to go. I mean, injury. I'm gonna put the injury aside. You can't really worry about that. That has nothing to do with him being ready. That's just a thing that happens sometimes. He's a smaller frame guy as far as his weight. So certain hamstrings happen with receivers. We've seen all the best receivers in football deal with hamstrings. That's just going to happen. Hopefully it doesn't become a thing that becomes consistent with him, but like it did with Sky Moore in the beginning. Like I see the comparison there. So I understand why Pat wants him to. There's no rookie leniency at this point, man. We drafted you in the first round of the NFL draft. You better come in ready to go. And I expect Xavier Worthy too. I mean, there's going to be hiccups, of course, but I like that out of Pat. I like that because before, a few years ago, you wouldn't have heard things like that from Pat because he hadn't really arrived to be able to deliver a message that way. But now he's that guy. He's got 3 rings on his fist, right? So there's a difference here with his leadership now, and it's changed, it's evolved, which I love. I love that message for Pat. Like, I'm not taking it easy on you, bud. So I love that. But as far as the comparison for Xavier Worthy and Sky Moore, I think the expectations obviously are higher for Xavier Worthy here. I know everybody was stoked for Sky Moore. He was a second round pick, obviously. Hyped guy. I had very high hopes for him. I was amongst the sheep with that one. But I just think there's a little difference here because obviously he's dealing with this injury, a similar injury to Sky Moore did. Other than that, though, there's not much to compare. I mean, for me, I think there's a lot more expectations for Xavier Worthy. Him being a speedster, him being more of a dynamic player. I know Sky Moore was a fairly fast guy, but really known for his hands and his ability to create separation. And obviously that hasn't panned out in his NFL career. And that's unfortunate. So I can see where the parallels are there. This is just this ball is just getting rolling, man. So this is kind of a wait and see approach for me to see, it's really for me with Xavier, man. It's just getting through this injury. Hopefully it doesn't become a nagging thing all year long. Other than that, I think you plug that kind of dynamic player into this offense, I think he's going to flourish. And I think people are going to quickly forget about any kind of worry about an injury once he has a couple highlight clips out there from camp, beat somebody deep on an 80-yard dart from Pat. But obviously we got to reel it in. Me and you, anybody who thinks about this stuff critically doesn't just get caught up in the hype, to really, examine what's really going on here because camp can only give you so much on the reality of things. But I'm excited about Xavier Worthy, man. It took me a while to really warm up to him, to be honest. I didn't like the pick personally that much. I mean, I liked that we took a receiver, but I felt like there were other better guys, in my opinion, out there that we could have taken. But I mean, he's here, man. I think Pat believes in him. I think Pat's going to ride him hard. I think Pat's going to be on him. I think Andy Reid's going to be on him because we need change in this receiving corps, as you alluded to ad nauseum before I spoke here. But I think the kid's got a lot of promise. He's got a lot of upside. And yeah, man, welcome to the team. And then, just get healthy. That's the main thing. We just need a healthy receiving core that can be competent this year. That's all we need, man.
Well, I think you make a good point that I think helps my point when it comes to the Sky Moore comparison is the fact that you talk about there's more expectation on Xavier Worthy, which is why it's even more imperative for him to be okay. Because Sky Moore was coming in to be a pivotal piece.
Yeah.
And he didn't have the expectation that Xavier Worthy has. So I think that's I think that's the point. I think that's why you see simultaneously with Patrick Mahomes having more success and becoming more of a garnered, mogul in this league, that he's saying things like that.
Well, Tyreek Hill was still a part of this team when Sky Moore was drafted here as well. So I believe
2022.
Oh, that was right
first
after.
season.
Okay, yes,
first season with Tyreek gone.
Yeah, I mean the expectations still were high.
Juju was here, MVS was here, so there's veterans here. Sure. The point though is that Sky Moore was their first wide receiver taken since Tyreek Hill was gone.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? As far as like a draft pick. So
still high enough pick.
And let's go watch the old tapes, bro.
Yeah.
On this show in particular, we were all singing the praise of that pick. We thought
on the kid,
and you and I have our worries about Xavier Worthy, mostly because, again, from just a contextual standpoint, guys, to give you guys an idea of why, and I'll speak for myself, Trevor can speak for himself, the biggest reason why I was worried about Worthy in this is obviously the undersized. I'm not as big of a fan of undersized wide receivers.
He's thin.
I like guys more of Rashee Rice's style. That's why I was a big fan of that pick. I love the Rashee Rice pick because he's a 6'2", 200-pound receiver. Like those are the kind of guys you want on your team, and he has a lot of good skill sets too. I think that Rashee's going to continue to mature in this offense. The point though is that's one side of it. The other side of it is that when you're taking boomer bust guys in a draft like that, when you have so many of these like types that you really want,
that was my biggest.
And you get a boomer bust guy.
I felt there was better guys.
His two comparisons were like Deshaun Jackson and John Ross. That made me really worried because it's like I feel like those are kind of guys you can go and find in the 4th, 5th round that can become something decent in this offense, but you go and invest heavily in a guy like another Rashee Rice, and you have 2 6-foot-plus wide receivers with Travis Kelce, with a young stable of tight ends. All of a sudden, you have a big physical receiving core that can make the same type of plays. They may not be as fast, and I know that's what the Chiefs like, but you can't replicate what Tyreek Hill was to this offense.
No.
And there's nothing that's going to be out there that's even close to him. Even though ironically Xavier Worthy is faster than Tyreek Hill, the dynamics of what Tyreek brings to the field is different than anything we've ever seen before. And it's ironic, even more ironic, is that Tyreek Hill was a 5th-round pick. So my point is that I thought they exerted.
Which is why me and you didn't want to draft a first-round wide receiver, but
because I didn't think that was the biggest need. I think it was the biggest need, and I didn't think Xavier Worthy was the best receiver on the board. But I do, Trevor, I'm right lockstep with you in this. I want nothing more than for Xavier Worthy to be the guy that Patrick Mahomes believes he can be, that he believes he can be. I think that there is real merit to the idea that this kid can become something early and often. But again, if I see this kid dealing with injuries before training camp even kicked off, I am going to get a little worried. Yes, hamstrings are something that skill position players deal with. But when you're dealing with it already, that is something to worry about. This is what happened with Kadarius Toney last season. Punt returns, and he already hurts his knee, hurts his MCL. And it's like, it makes you feel this anxiety of, oh, shit. Is this going to be one of those seasons? Because that's exactly what happened to Sky Moore in 2022. And that is exactly what happened to Kadarius Toney in 2023. What I do not want to see is the guy that gets that curse handed to him is 2024 Xavier Worthy.
Well, but at the same time, if we're going to talk all these parallels to that in that comparison with Sky Moore, I mean, Sky Moore got over that injury pretty quickly. It didn't linger too far into his rookie season. He got over pretty fast before the season really got going. But it is a bad omen, if you will, to what could happen and what maybe this leads into another guy being an underwhelming, not living up to his expectations, even further so with him being a 1st-round pick. I understand that, but at the same time, these are 2 different individuals, 2 different recovery, two different bodies. The way they recover could be 2 different. I'm not going to try to connect all the dots there with that, but at the same time, I get what you're saying though. It's like a bad juju. It's a bad omen. It's a rough start. But at the same time, I'd rather him deal with this injury now, hopefully recover it and rehab and get it out of the way now unless it's like week 6, 7, and he's really starting to get his feet under him, and all of a sudden he gets hurt. I'm hoping that this becomes a thing because it could kind of get, because everyone's looking forward to the season so much. I think that could kind of get exasperated as far as the hype of this injury. Is he really hurt? And it could be less significant than we understand, or it could be worse. We're kind of, we don't really know as the fans looking from the outside in, but a dynamic player, hamstrings, it's not good.
No.
A guy that depends on speed, a guy that you don't want taking big hits, and if he takes one big hit, is that going to tweak something? Is that going to re-aggravate it if he does get it right? A lot of these things we can negatively try to foresee, but at the same time, I'm choosing the optimistic side here. I think just get this injury right and look forward to what this kid's speed can do to this offense.
Yeah, I think this might sound nuts, but based upon this take I'm going to have real quick, this is how I feel. And then we'll move on to our next topic here. I'm more talking, when it comes to the Sky Moore comparison, I'm more talking about the development of the player and their rookies. That's
his growth.
Yes, I truly believe if Sky Moore wouldn't have gotten that injury and missed OTA, if he wouldn't have missed mini camp and OTAs, I think Sky Moore would have had a much better season because of the fact that he had that much. Because Sky Moore is a talented player.
I think we have I agree. I think we have the following seasons though to prove that false though. You know what I mean? Like he's had so much time after that to make up, and he's had training camp after training camp, season after season. Right. He can barely get on the field.
But we do know how this goes. A lot of times, guys that start off their careers rough can oftentimes find it very hard to bounce back from that early and often. Some guys, once their confidence is shot, they get the yips. And I think that I'm just saying theoretically that could have been what happened to Sky Moore, and I don't want to see it happen to Xavier Worthy, is why I bring that comparison up to begin with. Now,
it's hard for me to give you the yips excuse when you catch a Super Bowl touchdown.
Okay, Trevor, you and I would have caught that ball.
I'm just saying, like I don't know. I think it's more of a talent issue and a lack of trust with Pat issue with Sky Moore than it is him just just having the yips.
But what I'm saying is, what I'm saying though is they both have the talent to be in the NFL, which is why I'm saying I want to see the development be more seamless for guys in their first season, which is why I'm bringing up this point. You may disagree with me. We know that injuries can sometimes be unavoidable. They do happen, especially soft tissue issues, things like that. I would rather see Xavier Worthy pull a hamstring in week 7 than before the season starts. The reason why is because I want to see him get his season off the ground and get that development, because I feel the development of going into your rookie season is more important than the middle of the season. Because I think, look at what happened with Rashee Rice. Rashee Rice had the development he had and became the player he became because why? He became a pivotal piece during the season, but he had all offseason with Patrick Mahomes. He was healthy. He was ready. Remember all the drops he was having in preseason? We're like, oh, fuck. But he got through that stuff. He was getting those targets, and then he became a substantial piece to the offense later on. If you do it in reverse and you say Xavier Worthy misses that time, and then he has the healthier parts of the season later on, that development's going to be that much slower for him because he's that much further behind. So I would rather you deal with an injury in the middle of the season than right before the season starts when your NFL career is just kicking off.
Yeah, I see it the other way, honestly, but I think there's an example to that. I mean, every situation is not created equal either. You know, some guys adapt and learn the offense quicker. Sky Moore might have struggled with that. That might have been something he's finding his role, finding his place. Xavier Worthy, I think he could possibly know his place better and quicker and adapt and learn this offense quicker than maybe Sky Moore did. And I think, like an example, just last year, Jackson Smith-Njigba from Seattle Seahawks was dealing with a fractured hand for like basically over half of the season, and then finally kind of got got going and got more opportunity once he healed up entirely around like week 9-10, and he started balling for them. Right, so I think there's also another side of that coin too, where it can work out and it can, you know what I mean. So and that was another kid that was drafted, I believe, in the first or second round for the Seahawks last year. Similar situation, was hurt heading into camp, fractured his hand, couldn't really catch balls entirely, was more using his left hand than his right, with running with the ball and all that, and wasn't on the field too much throughout a little over half the year. Finally started kind of breaking into the offense and learned it and then found his place and then balled for, you know, it was kind of a fantasy darling the last few weeks of the season. So I mean, things like that can happen in the opposite way too. So I mean, I think I'm not trying to. You make a valid point. Like, it could definitely stunt his growth. That could be an issue. He could be behind the 8 ball, you know, with going into the season. But I personally would rather him get this injury out of the way, because if he gets injured in week 7 and never fully recovers, then we're going to be without him for the rest of the year. So I'd rather avoid that situation personally.
Well, neither's ideal. Like, let's be real. Like, neither having a hamstring injury at any point of the year, like you saw what happened with Justin Jefferson, he never came back from it.
Yeah.
You know, so obviously you don't want to see it happen ever.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, I care so much about the development of the player that I want to see. I want to see him and Patrick get as much time before the season together to build that chemistry
of course,
than anything else. That's all I care about more than anything, because I think that's obviously his best chance of developing as quick as possible.
Yeah, and the fact is, we're in it right now. He's dealing with it right now, so hopefully he can get it, you know, taken care of, so he can enjoy it and be a part of camp as much as possible, and with no extra, issues with it, and hopefully gets through it. And as far as what I'm hearing, he's doing good. He's recovering. He's getting better. Just getting him out in the field, though. You know, getting over this and getting in, and, you know, his reps in with Pat is most important for sure.
Sure. Now, the next thing I want to talk about, and guys, obviously get your comments in, get your questions in. We'll have speak in just a little bit when it comes to the questions, but if you have any takes, man, drop them on our chat as well, preferably on YouTube, if you guys would be so kind to jump over to youtube.com, Spoken Podcast. So I did a little experiment this week. I tell you guys, I always give you guys the honest truth. And so there is truth to this take, but I did it more so for an experiment. Now we don't have the pictures of the polls up here, but I want you guys to trust me on this. You can go to my Twitter page and see it for yourself if you don't believe me. But we got news this week, and this happens every year right around this time, where there's a disgruntled player and they want to get traded. They want to get paid. They want to get away from the situation. Whatever the case is, we got the news this week that it is now confirmed that 49ers wide receiver Brandon Aiyuk wants to get traded. He has now officially requested a trade. We heard the rumors months ago. Now we know for sure he wants out of San Francisco. First thing I thought was, and I posted the video of one of my favorite clips I have is when Travis Kelce's at the draft. Beach! Get a beach! You know, I posted that one out there, and then I posted this take, and I stand by it. The Chiefs will eventually have to pay a wide receiver real wide receiver money. Brandon Aiyuk is a wide receiver I would pay real wide receiver money to. Then I posted a poll that same day, and I asked Chiefs fans, should the Chiefs trade for Brandon Aiyuk even if the asking price is a first-round pick? Had about 800 votes. 53% said no. 47% said yes.
That's actually more split than I thought it would be.
I did all this on purpose, Trevor. And every comment was almost exactly what I was expecting. And I'm sure you already know the comments were going to be in response to these takes. Lance, the Chiefs will never have to pay a real wide receiver money ever again because the Chiefs keep winning Super Bowls without Tyreek Hill. They didn't pay Tyreek Hill. Why would they pay Brandon Aiyuk? You know what's happened, Trev? And I want us to put that picture up real quick. This is Will Smith and Men in Black. This is what happens to Chiefs fans. We have forgotten what great wide receiver play does for an offense because the Chiefs keep winning Super Bowls. And I know. You guys say, well, they won more Super Bowls without Tyreek Hill. They don't need Tyreek Hill. You're right, guys. They don't need Tyreek Hill. They don't need great wide receivers to win Super Bowls right now. Because right now, the Chiefs have the greatest tight end who's ever lived. That takes care of a lot of things. Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce, that's the greatest connection between a quarterback and a receiver I have ever seen. They are simpatico. It's like they can read each other's thoughts. Never seen anything like it.
Yeah.
That will end. Sooner rather than later. We probably have 2 more years of it. Which means that eventually, the Chiefs can't play cheap with wide receiver. And if we're being honest, and if we really look at the tea leaves here, guys, we know that Brett Veach has actually been trying to spend money at wide receiver. How about we go and talk about Tyreek Hill, since everybody wants to keep bringing it up? You guys do realize that the Chiefs and Tyreek Hill had a $100+ million deal ready to go and sign when he was coming back from Dubai that offseason. Y'all realize this, right? After the 2021 season, the Chiefs and Tyreek Hill had an extension in place for him to make around $25 million a year in Kansas City for the next 4 seasons. It wasn't until Davante Adams was traded to the Raiders and then given an extension that set the new market in place that was then thrown out, and it was by Drew Rosenhaus, Tyreek's agent, and he said, no, look, Davante just got that contract. We believe Tyreek Hill is just as good as Davante, which is 100% true. He's also, a year or two younger. He needs to get that. He needs to get what Davante got. The Chiefs are like, no, we already had you guys know how this story goes, okay? But the point is the Chiefs were willing to spend top-tier money on a top-tier wide receiver. Then we get the stories of the Chiefs talking to the Seattle Seahawks about DK Metcalf. What is it going to take to get DK Metcalf? How do we trade for him? What do you guys want for him? And we know that DK Metcalf is up for a contract in 2025. So when I bring up Brandon Aiyuk, this should be something that we're all like, yeah, this sounds like something the Chiefs should do. More than just a contingency plan of Travis Kelce, it's to add to the offense what's been missing for the last couple of years. And yes, the Chiefs have won 2 Super Bowls since Tyreek Hill's been gone. And it's worked out beautifully. But if you want to continue to win Super Bowls, you can't expect it to continue to work the same way, guys, because we know this league and the teams in particular are ever evolving and ever changing. The league is constantly changing. Teams don't stay the same forever, guys. If you look at the Patriots and all their 6 Super Bowls, their teams all looked a little different. Sure, their defenses were consistently awesome. Tom Brady was consistently there, but their offenses fluctuated. Things were different. It was different eras and times of how they won football games, guys. Because the Patriots had won Super Bowls in the high scoring games of it was 31-28 against the Falcons when they came back down 28-3, and then they won a Super Bowl against the Rams 13-10. So there's different ways of winning Super Bowls, and not all of them are created equal, like I said, guys, and some are easier to replicate than others. And if you want Patrick Mahomes to be at the top of his game, if you want Patrick Mahomes to be able to put up big numbers and have exciting seasons while winning Super Bowls, you have to give him the weapons to do so. So although, yes, I truly would like to see the Chiefs trade for Brandon Aiyuk and pay him money because he's worth that, I knew what this was going to do when I put that out there. That those types of people with that type of mentality was going to come at me with that of they don't need to do that. Guys, it is the absolute opposite. It is on the contrary. This is the next move the Chiefs need to make. Because I truly believe, and we can talk about this in a minute, Trevor, that Kingsley 𝚂𝙾𝙳 is the next left tackle for the Chiefs for the next decade. That's been taken care of. The Chiefs have drafted heavily. They have heavily invested in the defensive line. They also have paid Chris Jones a ton of money. That's the second most important area.
Probably going to pay Trey Smith.
You have Patrick Mahomes with a $500 million contract. He's going nowhere anytime soon. Never. He's never going anywhere. Who's just 28 years old. You have Travis Kelce, who's lockstep for the next 2 years. You have your left tackle, and you have your pass rush. What's next? What's the next most important part, guys? Locking up wide receiver. Now, you could say, well, Lance, they just drafted Xavier Worthy. True. And if Xavier Worthy becomes a wide receiver one, then the conversation does change a little bit. Because then the pressure for the Chiefs to still go out there and try to get a guy like Brandon Aiyuk does dissipate to a degree. But even when they draft a guy like Xavier Worthy, did they not sign Hollywood Brown?
That's what I'm saying. If he has a big year this year, he could extend him.
What I'm saying is veteran presences in a wide receiver room are still so pivotal.
Yeah.
Even if Xavier Worthy flourishes, even if he goes out there this year and balls the hell out, you got to go and get him a guy that's been in the league for 5 to 7 years that can help steady the ship, add depth, be a third down possessions receiver. Guys, this is why I always talk about how Juju was the perfect receiver for Patrick Mahomes. Because he came at a perfect time when Tyreek Hill left and showed that if you just have a veteran that knows how to run routes, that is a physical receiver that can make plays on third downs, this offense is going to continue to be great, and the Chiefs are going to continue to win Super Bowls. You don't have to have Tyreek Hill. But having a Tyreek Hill makes things that much easier. Having a Justin Jefferson or a Jamar Chase or a Devontae Adams makes that offense that much easier to perform and execute in. So trust me when I say, guys, as Patrick Mahomes ages, and he's not old yet by any means, but in 4 or 5 years, Patrick Mahomes is going to be considered an older quarterback. When he's 33, 34 years old, you better believe he's going to want to start having some of these all-pro type of receivers as he ages. That's what saved Tom Brady's career. Why do you think Tom Brady went to the Buccaneers? Not only was it in a shitty-ass division in the NFC side of things, not only was it warm weather all the time, but he had a ton of fucking weapons. He had Mike Evans in his prime.
Loaded.
Yeah, Mike Evans in his prime, Chris Godwin in his prime. You went and got Rob Gronkowski back. You had Leonard Fournette, a good offensive line. Guys, this is what Patrick Mahomes is going to want too. So why not get out ahead of it? Do I believe Brandon Aiyuk is going to be a Chief? No. He's going to go to the Patriots. He's going to go to one of these other teams that are going to pay him a ton of money. It ain't going to be the Chiefs. But that's not the message I'm trying to represent here. The message I'm trying to present to you guys is these are the types of moves the Chiefs are going to inevitably make. Whether you agree with them or not, they are going to go after a big wide receiver. It will happen. I've just been saying it for 2 years now. And when it does happen, you are going to be happy. Because as the Chief teams develop and become something else and evolve into something else, it's going to need a weapon like that.
Yeah, and our guy Max Watson in the chat says Cooper Kupp was a big reason for Matthew Stafford's late resurgence on the Rams.
Thank you.
Facts, man.
Guys, think about this. Why do you think teams like that always go and get more talent? The Rams already had Cooper Kupp. They went and got OBJ. They went and drafted Puka Nacua. Because they know Matthew Stafford was in his mid-30s.
Puka was a steal, man.
Oh, God, yeah. He was a 5th-round pick.
Yeah,
I'm just saying, though, they still drafted him, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So, look at this. Trevor brought up the Seahawks. Great. That's a great point. They had DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. They still went and got Smith and Jigma in the first round. Yeah. Why? Because they knew they had a quarterback that had limitations, and they needed to try to win as best as they can while they still could. Because Gino's in his mid-30s, and he has limitations. Obviously, Patrick Mahomes doesn't have limitations. But, guys, Patrick Mahomes is going to age like every other human being that's ever played this game. And as he ages, you want to have as much talent around him as possible.
Yeah, our guy MQ10 in the chat says it all depends on what they give up. I don't think Beach wants to give up a first-round pick or picks or a key player. I think they need to do it, but if they don't, I think they will.
Okay, real quick, because I understand that point.
Yeah.
Fully understand that point. I want to get Trevor's take on this real quick, but I'm going to answer this one, Trevor, then you take over.
Sure.
Look at all the first-round picks that Brett Veach has taken so far in his Chiefs tenure. Which of them would you keep over Brandon Aiyuk? You have George Karlaftis, Trent McDuffie, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Felix Anudike-Uzomah. And Xavier Worthy, obviously. Now, keep Xavier Worthy out of there real quick because we don't know. We don't know yet.
Yeah, give me Aiyuk, bro.
We love Trent McDuffie. We love George Karlaftis.
Yeah.
But you're taking Brandon Aiyuk over any of those players.
Yeah, he's not even in his prime yet, man. He's yeah.
This dude just had a 1,300-yard season as like the second or third option in a Niners offense that ran the ball more than anybody outside of the Ravens with Brock Purdy as his quarterback.
Yeah.
Like, 26 years old.
You put him in
common
his
sense.
offense, it's wild.
It's common sense, guys. Brandon Aiyuk is a wide receiver 1. He may not be like a top 12, 13 receiver in the league, but
y'all are excited for Hollywood Brown, dude. I'm telling you right now, Aiyuk is a better player than Hollywood Brown.
It's not even close.
Yeah.
It's not even close. We love Hollywood Brown here.
Yeah,
we love Hollywood Brown.
Hell yeah.
Not even close. And he's bigger, stronger, more physical receiver.
Hell of a route.
And I think he averaged the most yards per reception last year in the league.
Yeah, I mean, in a very systematic vanilla offense, if we're being honest. Yeah.
I think it was like 17 and a half yards per reception, something crazy last season.
Run first offense, yeah.
So my point is, guys, is that it's so weird how the time has changed, Trevor, so quickly that we do forget what it was like. What it was like to have a premier receiver in this offense. And again, you don't have to have them. But when you get an opportunity to get them, you have to take the shot. Because it makes things that much easier on Brett Veach. It makes things that much easier on Andy Reid. It makes things that much easier on Patrick Mahomes. It makes everything easier on the defense, on the other skill position players. It makes it easier on everybody. Because of the fact that you have that one extra piece on there that can be an X factor at any given time. Can be a game breaker at any given time.
Yeah.
That's the point, man. So the Chiefs have won in multiple ways, but I'm telling you guys, and I love the fact, real quick, I'm hogging the mic here, dude. Yeah. But the Chiefs have won. I love the fact that they have won 3 Super Bowls in a myriad of ways. Yep. Because it has shown you they can do that. But I'm telling you guys, and you ask any NFL expert, which way is the way that they can do it more often? How they did in 2023 when they had to have a defense play at an all-time level and Patrick and Travis Kelce just willed the offense? Or are you 2022 or 2019 when they were scoring 30-plus a game and they had a defense that did just enough? I promise you they're going to tell you it's 2019 and 2022. How do I know that? Because they've done that twice and they've done this once. It's proven already just in the Chiefs dynasty that this is not going to be something they're going to continue to do, guys. I know that if the Chiefs played the same exact way this season, they probably would be still a Super Bowl contender. But to expect Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes to carry an offense like that again,
yeah,
that's almost impossible.
Oh, and the way that the league continues to, which was made this last Super Bowl that much more stressful. The way this league has become and is gearing towards, it's very much more offensive friendly. And it appreciates higher scoring more than ever, right?
Yeah.
So it makes sense to gear your success and the way you're built and structured towards a higher scoring offense rather than depending on your defense to go make a stop on a 3rd and short to potentially seal a Super Bowl victory. That's much more stressful than knowing you can go put up 30 and try to see if that other team can keep up with you.
Right.
That puts all the pressure on the other team too. So winning the way we won last year is not something I want to continue to see. Obviously, having a great defense and arguably the best defense in football last year was awesome to watch, but it's also just made it very difficult. And luckily, we had that, or else we weren't winning shit last year.
Right.
That defense was what it was last year. Thank God, because the unit was unreal, and Spags is the fucking man. But yeah, I mean, you obviously want both. You want a dynamic defense and you want a high scoring offense, but a lot of times, high scoring offense is more required because your defense is giving up points. But if we're not leaking points, but we can average 24 points a game, give me that all day, bro. Like, what I mean? We don't need to go score 38 a game because that tends to not be a good thing. So you want to have that balance, and I think that's what we're kind of looking for here. We don't want a shitty defense, but we want to invest more in the offense than we have been, especially in the wide receiver room. And you ain't got to twist my leg, twist my arm at all, bro, to entertain the idea of going and getting an elite talent at wide receiver. I wanted to trade our first round draft pick this year for T. Higgins. I was all in. I wanted T. Higgins over here so bad. Still do. It ain't gonna happen. It's a pipe dream, but I was willing to trade. I mean, if I can trade Xavier Worthy or that pick before this season, it's a no-brainer. I'm trading that to try to put a package together, go get T. Higgins. It's without question. So I'm all in on that idea. I love the idea of bringing over, especially now, the way we're set now. We know what the draft pick is with Xavier Worthy here, and obviously we have Hollywood Brown here, and that's a great addition and a great guy to kind of mentor the younger ones on this team. But if we can go get a DK Metcalf after this season, or we can go get even a Tyler Lockett, one of those guys too. I'm always wanting to make moves, and especially to bring more comfort to Pat and have more reliable hands. Because Jesus Christ, we got guys on this roster that just don't. I'm a Kadarius Toney. I still believe in the talent of him, but he's a knucklehead, man. Like, he just doesn't. Some guys you can just see they just don't want to really put everything into it, and I'm not saying that about Sky Moore. I think Sky Moore really loves this game and really wants to be a part of it. I just think he's having a really hard time finding his place, and I think that's been his biggest struggle. Because I think he's a talented guy. I think he's a smart guy. I just think he might be an overthinker, and I think that's kind of been an issue for him, really finding himself in this game, in this team. But yeah, I mean, I'm right there with you, man, in the idea of, the Aiyuk situation. It's not going to happen. That'd be sweet. It's not going to happen. But, man, I would kill to have you throw another guy into the mix like that on this team. I mean, it's with this defense the way it is going into this season, with the high hopes of this defense maybe even being better than last year, which very well could be the case, which is crazy to think. And if this offense improves, the whole league's fucked, man. So, yeah, I mean, the idea of the whole, I understand you were doing it to get a reaction, and it worked. But I honestly, I didn't expect that poll to be that close. Yeah, I expected Chiefs King to be like, dude, we already got Xavier Worthy. You know what I mean? That's what I was expecting more of the normies or the average folk in this this fan base to kind of give you hell. But I mean, there's a lot more closer than I thought it would be, honestly. So
I want to put a couple comments out there real quick.
Yep.
Casey Inyert, I think that's how you say your last name. Forgive me if I'm saying it wrong, but Casey Inyert. The offense is going to kill people this year. Patrick is talking like he missed the playoffs last year, not back-to-back champion. That's how you want your quarterback to talk, guys. You want to be hungry at all times. Tony Russell, high expectations. A dude with 4.2 speed better show us something. Let's go. I couldn't agree more. Shout out to Ruben Cruz for saying shout out to us. Casey Inyert comes back with Hollywood's health is more important than Worthy's this year. That can be debatable. That can be debatable. Agree with that. Yeah, I think there's a conversation to be had, though. I think we should talk about that. Adam Cole, Adam, I promise we'll get to your question. I apologize.
Yeah.
Julie has a question as well.
Ruben, anything with a question mark, I got it tagged.
Awesome.
So we'll get to it.
Ruben said the Chiefs do need to pay for wide receiver one. I do believe that at least in 2025 for sure. Obviously, there's nothing you can do about it now in 2024. Our guy Max Watson did say, I like the idea of bringing in Aiyuk. I think this is the one that you may have brought up, Trevor. Yeah, okay. Chiefer, 65 TPT, tossed by our trap. Agreed, Lance. I think we got 2 years left with Trav. Good timing for Wiley.
Absolutely.
Casey Inyert, that's a question. I apologize, guys. So these are great comments, guys, and I think a lot of you guys are understanding. And then Brent, this is the one I wanted to get to. Brent brought this up. McDuffie is the only real argument. See, Trevor and I feel like we've had this conversation now about 3 or 4 times on the show this offseason. And I always feel like I'm the guy that tries to doesn't try, but ends up sounding like the guy that doesn't value Trent McDuffie. But it goes deeper than Trent McDuffie. It goes to the positional value. And how I know that Brett Veach has been so goddamn good at getting cornerbacks across the board, from first round picks like McDuffie to 4th round picks like L'Jarius Sneed, to veteran free agents like Rashad Breeland. Like, he's been able to get them all over the place, and it works almost seamlessly. And we're gonna have a conversation in a minute about the cornerback position, but I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I said this I stand firm on the DK Metcalf, but you guys can have your opinions on DK Metcalf as a player. But when it comes to having a great wide receiver or a great corner, I'm taking the great wide receiver every time, because I believe that Spags can blanket a cornerback play and get young guys to look at Joshua Williams, look at Jalen Watson, look at these guys that no one ever expected to be anything. These guys are now 2-time champions, have never lost a playoff game, and have played pivotal roles in the Chiefs winning multiple Super Bowls. I want that. I think Spags can do that. I want Andy Reid to have these stud wide receivers, or at least one stud wide receiver that Patrick Mahomes can rely on if, in fact, Travis Kelce's too old, if, in fact, Travis Kelce's hurt. Because look at last season, man. Like I said, how difficult it was for Patrick Mahomes to even just move the ball. You don't want to have that again. Because next time, you may not be as lucky, where your defense isn't as stout and only allowing 13 points per game. If they allow 16 points per game, you're going home. So that's the point I'm trying to make here is I think that the argument, I understand the argument because we all love Trent McDuffie so much, but guys, let's be real. Trent McDuffie has only given the Chiefs one great season. He missed 7 games in his rookie year. Now, he was good in his rookie year, and I loved what Trent McDuffie brought, especially as the playoffs came about. You saw the growth and development and maturity of who he is. He's a special player. There's a reason why the Chiefs didn't even have him on their board past 16 when they ended up drafting him at 20.
All pro, yeah.
Because they're like, wait, holy fuck, this dude's on the board, or 21 whenever they drafted him. Holy shit, he's still on the board. We gotta go get Trent McDuffie. He's special. But Trent McDuffie is also a guy that is small. He plays primarily in the slot. He can play all over, but he's never going to be like that outside lockdown corner. He's going to be an inside guy, plays physical, makes key plays, things of that nature. But if I'm choosing between that and a guy that's going to give me 1,300 yards of Brock Purdy with 8 touchdowns attached to him, I'm taking that guy, especially in his mid-20s. So that's just where I stand. I don't really think it's much of a debate, to be honest, guys. But we're going to get to your guys' questions, I promise you guys, in just a second. But that's kind of where I stand with this whole situation, guys. And I did intentionally put that out there on purpose because I wanted to see what the reaction was going to be, and it was exactly as I expected it, man. It's good to know that I know what's coming, but at the same time, I know that I was hoping that some people would understand where I was coming from on it. But I want to throw this little nugget out there, Trevor. I don't know if you heard, but Adam Teicher put out there that when they were asking him the question on 810 about the left tackle position. They're asking him, well, how's it looking? Because we know that it's going to be a battle between Kingsley Su'a-Mata'ia versus Wanya Morris.
Yep.
According to Adam Schefter, this is an actual quote. The starting left tackle position is Kingsley Su'a-Mata'a's to lose. Mataia's to lose. In other words, guys, what I've been telling you since day one, what we've been telling you since day one, is exactly what's going to transpire. Kingsley Su'a-Mata'ia is going to be the week 1 starter, and it's because of the fact that we've seen Brett Veach do this time and time again, where he goes and gets a guy in the draft that he highly values, and that guy becomes a day 1 difference maker on offensive line. You saw this with Creed Humphrey. You saw this with Trey Smith. You saw this in free agency with Joe Thuney. You saw this in the trade with Orlando Brown Jr. Those guys became day 1 impact players. Some higher than others. The point remains. We're starting to see Brett Veach crush it at offensive line like he crushes it at cornerback. And I'm so excited about that.
Yeah.
I know there's some people that want to see Wanya Morris get that position, but guys, I'm telling you, go look at the draft grades. Go look at the mocks. Go look at all. Wanya Morris, they said he's not a natural fit at left tackle. That's why everything you're hearing, everything you're seeing from the Chiefs, all the tea leaves are telling you they're going to give this job to Kingsley Su'a-Mata'ia. That's why they didn't sign Donovan Smith. That's why they haven't signed Donovan Smith. Because they feel comfortable. Yes, he might be a rookie, but they feel comfortable enough that this dude he has the body, the physical ability, the mental ability, the instincts, thank you, all those things to be a day 1 guy. Yeah. And we've seen this time and time again in this league, guys, at tackle positions especially. Some guys are just special, and day 1 they just take over. Will Kingsley have growing pains? Yes. But he is more of a natural fit at left tackle. Wanya is more of a swing guy. He can play guard. He can play right tackle, play a little left tackle here and there.
Good depth.
But he's not a guy that you want to rely on having him protect your Patrick blindside. Kingsley Su'a-Mata'ia is that guy. And I truly believe these reports are true, that it's his job to lose, guys. And unless he goes up there and just stinks up the neighborhood, which I'm not expecting, unless he does that in training camp and in preseason, you will see number 76 at left tackle for the foreseeable future.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have anything you want to add to that, Trevor.
Yeah, that's what I expected. Any guys that are drafted in the first 3, maybe even 4 rounds, as a GM, as a head coach, you pick these guys to either start or compete for a starting job with the guy you have in that place currently. That's the whole point of drafting. You don't draft a guy in the 2nd, 3rd round like, hey, he could be a good depth piece. We can move around, fill in spot. No, that's not what you draft guys for, unless the draft is absolute ass and there's not good talent. But the guys you're handpicking that you have, in your top 3 picks of each round of who you want, who's on your board, you draft those guys to go out there and steal someone's job, period, or fill a massive need. And I think both of those is exactly what we needed at left tackle, right? I'm tired of the revolving door here at left tackle. Patrick needs a guy for the next 10 years. You know what I mean? And I agree with you. I think this could be the beginning of something special at that position and a very important position of this team. I think Kingsley is special, man. I think that kid's got great instincts, and I can see him growing into being one of the best left tackles in football. I think his film is incredible. Everybody can find the cons to the pros. There's always going to be the naysayers, but I really love what I see from the kid. I like his personality. I like where he comes from. Humble beginnings, and just a dominant player. Big hands, big wingspan, great feet. So I love the instincts, what I've seen from him, and I agree with you, bro. I think I agree with the report there as well, that this job is solidified, and that's kind of been the sentiment from the jump with him when he came over here. I think that everyone kind of knew that he was coming in to take that job, and it's his to lose. So yeah, I'm hyped, man. I'm hyped for this kid.
And I hate to retract the conversation, but I'm going to do this real quick because I saw our guy Casey Inyart.
Yep, I was waiting for it.
Yeah, so I have to read this comment. Casey Inyart says, "We aren't going to pay for a legit wide receiver one until we quit winning Super Bowls without one." Okay, Casey. So if the Chiefs don't win one this year, is that okay? Is it then justifiable for them to go and do it?
Well, do you think that's how GMs think?
No.
Let's just see if Pat can do it. No, that's not how we. That's not how they want to consistently make Pat's job easier.
Because even to that point, when Brett Veach was dead wrong.
Yeah.
But what was Brett Veach calling Kadarius Toney last season before the season started?
Yeah.
A star, a wide receiver one.
Because he has the ability.
They believed he was that. Yeah. They didn't have a room full of nobodies in their eyes.
They thought they got one over on the league.
Yeah. They thought they went and got a dude.
So did I.
They thought Sky Moore was a dude. They thought MVS could be a real positive veteran leader, and none of that happened.
Yeah.
Guys, that's the point here. Is that they thought they had a wide receiver one.
Like I just said, you draft those guys to go out there and be studs.
And so, trust me when I say, guys, if Kadarius Toney would have turned into that last season, you know who they're paying? Kadarius Toney.
For sure. If you going out there had 12 touchdowns, 1,300 yards.
What's the real difference out of, because they already traded for him, just like they would have to trade for Brandon Aiyuk. Yeah. And if Kadarius Toney would have transitioned into a Brandon Aiyuk type of player, production-wise, maybe not stylistically, but production-wise, we're talking about how much money are the Chiefs going to have to pay Kadarius Toney? So what are we even really talking about here, man? And I'm not even trying to come at you, Casey. I'm just saying that when we say things like this, you have to really evaluate where you're coming from on that, man, because the Chiefs thought they had one just a year ago. Now they don't. So what do? They went and they got what in the first round? Xavier Worthy. They're constantly correcting. Because guess what happens if Xavier Worthy becomes what they thought Kadarius Toney was going to be? They're going to pay Xavier Worthy. That's how this business goes.
Yeah.
They're not going to sit here and, you know what? Let's not, like Trevor said, let's just see what happens. Let's not give Patrick shit and let's see if we can win. No, they don't view it that way.
If we were talking running back, I'd probably agree with you.
But see,
this isn't running back.
To that point, that's
yeah.
another reason why the Chiefs need to add a number one wide receiver.
Right. We have zero depth at running back. It's such a question mark. It's probably the biggest question mark, even more than receiver room. The running back room is so bad.
Yeah.
It's so bad, bro. That's what I'm saying. I'd probably agree with them because we've won, Super Bowls with Damian Williams, a guy that was let go by numerous teams.
Highly productive.
Had one of the best runs in Super Bowl history or in playoff history. His run was incredible. We've seen guys like Niall Davis have big moments in playoff games. You know what I mean? Like, it's just running back can be revolving door, but wide receiver, man, it was showcased last year how desperately bad. And look, Veach made the wrong decision on some guys. Like you said, like Kadarius Toney did not pan out. Sky Moore has not panned out outside of scoring a touchdown in the Super Bowl with the play that just was a drawn up masterpiece of a play that we did twice. Yeah, I mean, those guys just haven't produced, man. We hopefully Xavier Worthy is the answer to that. Yeah. We'll see.
Yep, I couldn't agree more, man. So I just wanted to throw that out there real quick, Casey. Like I said, not coming at you, man, but that mentality has to change with Chiefs fans.
And to reel it back into your point about Kingsley, Julie Gulia gives us a comment here. Giving a rookie the responsibility of protecting Patrick Mahomes gives me anxiety. Well, he's only a rookie once, so if he goes out there and he's no longer a rookie after week 5 and he's doing his job, then that anxiety will be lessened. I promise.
Well, let me ask you. Okay, because Julie, I respect that completely. I don't think that's wrong to say because I understand he's an unproven commodity. Which would you prefer? Giving a guy with that type of talent the opportunity to take that job, knowing that he is a premier talent, or going and getting 32-year-old Donovan Smith again?
Right.
Who missed X amount of games.
Who played well when healthy.
Yes, he played fine.
Yeah.
But he was even replaced.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? Now, obviously, when Donovan got healthy, they brought him right back in because Wanye was playing terrible at the time. But even to that point, would you rather Wanye one more time? Because Wanye, I don't know why, Trevor, but for some reason, I guess we were the only ones that watched Wanye last season. The dude was ass at left tackle.
Wasn't great.
Because he's not a left tackle.
Yeah.
So you have to, at some point, you have to take risks. Yes, rookies, it's always nervous. You guys know that I'm the guy that likes sure things. I don't like what ifs as much. I like sure things. That's why I was hammering the point home about D-Hop. This is why I want veteran receivers, things of that nature. But even to that point, I think we all would agree, Trevor, that seeing Patrick Mahomes rookie in his rookie season, the Chiefs would have went further in that season than what they did, losing to the Titans in the divisional round or the wild card round.
And you got to factor in the trust of Brent Veach and we know what his kind of specialty is in position drafting. I think cornerback and DBs and offensive linemen have been a sweet spot for Brett Veach, like you've alluded to already on the show and numerous shows in the past. This is kind of Brett Veach's kind of sweet spot,
right?
Finding these guys. I mean, left tackle, he hasn't really drafted a guy yet, but he's brought in good guys. He's had a good eye for guys that have been productive.
Orlando Brown was a net positive.
100%.
Yes.
I wasn't a big fan of him.
He helped them win a Super Bowl and gave up 0 sacks in that playing game.
Right. And of course. And I think that was a good move, and it worked, right? I think this is where we got to kind of factor in the trust for our GM, who's had a good eye and a good knack for these kind of positions.
Well, and to Julia, to the question, Julia, I mean, remember just 3 years ago, Creed Humphrey and Trey Smith, rookies, protecting Patrick Mahomes up front, and they never looked back. Those guys, and ironically, Creed Humphrey was also a 2nd-round pick. Trey Smith was a 6th-round pick, and they are 2 of the best players at their positions.
Right.
And they've never missed a game. What's to say that Kingsley isn't the exact same dude? Can you imagine, Trevor, what this offensive line can be if Kingsley becomes a top-tier left tackle with Joe Thuney right next to him, with Creed Humphrey to his right and Trey Smith to his right, and if Juwan Taylor builds on what he did in the postseason? This is outside of the Lions.
I think Juwan's going to be good.
Outside of the Lions, this would be the best. This would be the best offensive line in football.
Yeah.
Outside of the Lions, I think they have the best offensive line. If these guys click, like I'm expecting them to, this will be one of the best offensive lines in football.
Yeah.
Honestly. Because they have top-tier talent. Talent-wise, it's up there with the Lions already. You look at the talent. It's insane how talented this offensive line is. But if they click like I'm expecting them to, like I'm expecting Kingsley to click with those veterans around him, look, man, I think Patrick's going to have a real clean week, a real clean season, man. I think that jersey, they may not have to wash it. I mean, he might just wear the same one every week. I don't know. We'll see how that goes.
Well, our guy Casey Enyart.
Yeah.
Enyart. I'm not sure. Maybe enunciate if you can and syllables on here for us if you could. What I'm saying is Veach can't give away the future and pay a legit guy until the pressure is on.
So what's the future?
Yeah, I mean, you can't.
What do you mean by the future? Because, again, did they not give up a first-round pick for Frank Clark? Would you rather them spend another first-round pick on Clyde Edwards-Helaire or trade it for Brandon Aiyuk? Which one's giving up the future more? See,
Casey,
living in fear is not what we do here, guys, because as I recall, what set this franchise ablaze? What move? Doing something this franchise has never done before. Trading up 17 spots from 27 overall to 10 overall with an AFC team in the Buffalo Bills, thanks y'all, by the way, to get Patrick Mahomes. I remember going nuts because that's all I've ever wanted, to see my team draft a quarterback and develop into something. I just wanted to see that. That's all I ever wanted.
Yeah.
I didn't know what was going to happen, but I just wanted to see my team take that risk for the first time ever. Please. They haven't drafted a quarterback since Todd Blackledge in 1983 in the first round. And they finally did it. And they did it in the riskiest way by going up 17 spots. And they took a guy that everybody was saying was talented but was a project. Oh, at best Brett Favre. He'll be a turnover machine. He's reckless. He has terrible footwork. He played at Texas Tech. Big 12 quarterbacks don't succeed in the NFL.
Yeah, air raid offense.
Air raid offense, yeah. They just throw the ball 85 times a game. He'll turn into nothing. He'll be a backup quarterback in a couple of years. Patrick Mahomes is the greatest quarterback that's ever lived. Best quarterback that ever lived.
3 Super Bowl rings later. Yeah.
Was that not risking the future? Was that not? Because the Chiefs were comfortable with quarterback with Alex Smith, right? 33-year-old Alex Smith. We can play with him for a couple more years. Maybe go take a quarterback in the 3rd round. Maybe go sign, some Nick Foles like they did.
All right, we just need it. Casey, you have a camera? Come on here, man. Came up. He has a comment here. It says, what do you think it's going to take to get a wide receiver 1? I assume several number 1 picks. No. If they are number 32, along with other early round picks.
No. See, what we're doing now is we're looking at the extremes. Yeah. Now you're looking at what the worst cost would be. Justin Jefferson, sure.
Yeah.
If you're looking at trading for Justin Jefferson, you're having to give up multiple firsts. But if you're getting, let's say, again, Brandon Aiyuk. Or, I view DK Metcalf as a wide receiver 1, but we'll keep that one aside for a second.
Ronald Adams, fear does not exist in this dojo. I love that comment, man.
Joe, baby, Joe Family Guy. Fear does not exist in this dojo.
Not my dojo.
No, so, real quick, Casey, I'm answering the question as honestly as I can. When it comes to guys like Brandon Aiyuk, when it comes to top the second tier of wide receiver 1s, you're giving up at best. And I'm so glad this is being brought up, Trevor, because this is a beautiful conversation.
Yeah.
Think about this: where the Chiefs draft on an annual basis in the 1st round?
Bob in the 1st,
30th, 31st, 32nd. You're telling me right now Brandon Aiyuk isn't worth a bottom 3 pick in the 1st round? If we did a redraft right now in the league of wide receivers, if it's all wide receivers, Brandon Aiyuk's taken what, 11th?
When he said, I assume it's several number 1 picks. No.
You're
not, like you said, if it's Justin Jefferson, yes, of course.
But is he not worth that?
Of course.
Even if you're going to the extremes.
But we don't even need a guy to that degree.
Right.
Just give me a competent number 1.
Even if the Vikings were like, hey, give us your 2024 or give us your 2025 and 2026 1st round picks, and we'll give you Justin Jefferson. Shake that fucking hand. Because you know what the Chiefs also do? They draft their ass off in the mid rounds.
Yep.
That's actually where they're at their best. And what do I know about the next couple of drafts? The Chiefs got plenty of mid-round picks. They got that one from the Titans that secured 3rd round pick. They can do some damage with those picks. So if I know I'm getting 24, 25-year-old Justin Jefferson for a couple of firsts, and I know I got prime Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, and that defense with Chris Jones locked up, we're winning 2 more Super Bowls.
Yeah.
The Chiefs are winning 2 more Super Bowls. So we talk about the future. We're so scared about the future and what's going to happen. What about right now? Because right now is what matters the most, guys. And right now, the Chiefs have the best quarterback in the history of this league.
Well, we're trying to make history with the 3-peat.
Yeah, and the peak of his powers.
Yeah.
What other time? Obviously, the future does matter, guys. But what matters most? What are the Chiefs building towards right now? Like Trevor just said, they're building towards becoming the greatest dynasty that's ever lived.
In sports.
If they win 3 straight Super Bowls, this is the greatest dynasty in the history of this league. Maybe of sports.
Yeah.
Because winning 3 straight Super Bowls?
That's insane.
It's stupid. Think about how insane that would be.
Yeah.
No one else is even coming close. If you could do that, sorry, kids, close your ears real quick. Fuck those picks. I don't care about no fucking pick if it means I can go and get a 3-peat. If you can make history, what is the cost you wouldn't be willing to pay? That's the question you have to ask yourself. And Casey, thank you, man, because you're bringing some stuff out of me, man, that you got my juices flowing, man. That's some good comments, man, some good back and forth. I really do appreciate this, man. Julia Gully has some questions, man. I feel bad. I'm prolonging this so bad.
Locked and loaded.
Yeah.
We'll get to you guys' questions. Promise.
I do want to transition real quick, Trevor, and I don't want to drag the show on too long, but I want to get to the defensive side of things because I heard something yesterday. I already had the show ready to go, but of course I listened to radio for 5 minutes, which is always a mistake.
Oh boy.
Local radio here in Kansas City can be okay. We'll just move on. But the point is, there's comments I hear sometimes. And it makes me my eyes just roll to the back of my head and they headbutt my brain because I can't take some of the comments I hear. And I heard Carrington Harrison talk about, I think he had Nate Taylor on the show, and I heard it just for 3 minutes. And he talks about how he's worried about how no one really is worried about not having L'Jarius Sneed anymore. Let me first preface this by saying, guys, that I am the biggest L'Jarius Sneed fan. We talked about this before the trade happened, but you guys also know that I was the one that put it out there first. The Chiefs got to trade 𝙂𝙸𝙸 Sneed. They're not going to pay him. He's not worth being paid here in Kansas City. He's worth that money elsewhere. And that's exactly what they did. They got a third-round pick out of it, and that's probably the best they could have gotten. And that's going to be a really good, important pick. But I'm hearing now Carrington Harris is suggesting that like the Chiefs should be a little worried about not having that guy because he ranks, I think they ranked him at 5th overall amongst all cornerbacks coming into this next season. And I don't get the confusion that comes from those that don't understand why a lot of us aren't worried about the absence of Sneed when the Chiefs not only, and again, I'm pro Sneed, guys, so these aren't hater words here, but in his career with the Chiefs, in games he either missed or left early in the first quarter, they're 8-1. They only allowed 20 points per game. This includes the postseason, I might add. Only allowed 20 points per game. And the biggest point about this is the defense isn't built around 𝙂𝙸𝙸 Sneed, and in particular, the secondary. This defense has never been built around his position. The defense is built around Chris Jones, which is why it confused me even more earlier in this offseason before any moves were made when I heard guys like Carrington Harrison and others saying they would rather pay 𝙂𝙸𝙸 Sneed than Chris Jones. That's an absurdity because we know this defense has always been built around Chris Jones based on how they've drafted alone. They've taken, 4 defensive tackles, 4 defensive interior linemen in the entirety of Brett Veach's tenure.
Yeah.
And none of them were before like the 4th or 5th round. They haven't even trying to replace Chris Jones. So in my eyes, I never understood why anybody would suggest they would let a 29-year-old Chris Jones leave at the peaks of his powers for nothing. And they're not going to trade him. So I never understood how people didn't understand this defense has been built around and predicated around Chris freaking Jones, not 𝙂𝙸𝙸 Sneed. And as long as Chris Jones is Chris Jones, the pieces around him can be interchangeable and the SPAG system will continue to dominate. Because again, the core infrastructure is always going to be in place. So, although yes, we love these guys, like fan favorites, Sneed, McDuffie, guys like that, like they're always going to be fan favorites, Justin Reed. But they're interchangeable pieces. Like, McDuffie is awesome. Don't get me wrong, guys.
Tyrann Mathieu was awesome.
Yes, but let me ask you a question. Yeah, exactly. Tyrann Mathieu was a guy that changed the culture of the city.
Yeah, man.
And the Chiefs won a Super Bowl after trading him or letting him walk. When Trent McDuffie is gone, whether it's by a trade or letting him walk in free agency, whatever the case is, when the day that Trent McDuffie is no longer here and say Patrick Mahomes obviously is still playing, the Chiefs can still very much win Super Bowls, correct? Justin Reed's gone. Chiefs can still win Super Bowls, correct? All these other pieces are gone. That's the question you have to ask. Is if this current team didn't have this guy, can they still win the Super Bowl, yes or no? That's why I said last season, before the season started, if Chris Jones doesn't play for the Chiefs will not win the Super Bowl. They would not have won the Super Bowl last year. You know why? Because their offense wasn't nearly good enough. Chris Jones was the ultimate difference maker in the postseason.
Yeah.
He made the ultimate difference in those games.
The big three showed up, man.
Even in the Super Bowl previous against the Eagles, Nick Bolton got the scoop and score. Who's the one that opened up the lane for Nick Bolton to do that?
Yeah.
Chris Jones was double teamed, and it opened up the lane for Nick Bolton to go and get the ball.
Double, triple team.
No offense to Nick Bolton, but Nick Bolton doesn't make that play if Chris Jones doesn't bring that attention.
Sure.
That's the point I'm trying to make, guys, is that some guys make the non-sexy plays to make the other guys look sexy. Sneed played a very pivotal role in this team winning another Super Bowl. Knocked the ball out of Zay Flowers' hands right at the goal line.
Dominated Tyreek.
Maybe the greatest play of Sneed's career was doing that. And Trevor, like Trevor said, dominated Tyreek.
Shut his ass down in that game, bro.
Had an unbelievable season last year. But guys, I'm telling you right now, it is a better chance that somebody replicates what Sneed did last season because of Chris Jones than the other way around, where Sneed goes to the Tennessee Titans, and because of Sneed, some guy plays like Chris Jones. It's a much better chance that another corner for the Chiefs does what Sneed does than the other way around. And I wish Sneed nothing but the best. I'm happy he got paid, but I'm telling you right now, you're not going to see the same Sneed for the Tennessee Titans that you saw in Kansas City, because it's more about the system than the player. That's just how it goes, guys. When it comes to that defense, it's what Spags brings to the table. It's the experience he brings. It's where he sets these pieces up in place that makes that defense go the way it goes. So I needed to put that out. Trevor, I mean, are you confused about that as well? Because I don't understand this. Because I hate to say it like this, but there is no need for Sneed. Like, this team will live on without him. They will be just fine without him.
We've definitely touched on this in the show before, and you know where I'm right there with you. I mean, I think Sneed is as great as he was, and it's just his stats last year is what he did against, top talented receivers, what he did against Tyreek, and talked the talk and absolutely followed it up in that game against Tyreek, shut his ass down. Was just bullying him all day, and that's a very rare occurrence in Tyreek Hill, because Tyreek Hill is usually the one doing the bullying, because he's so dynamic. But when it was a perfect situation, obviously, because Sneed knows his game so well. But yeah, I mean, against all the best receivers, and the majority of the time, Sneed was coming out victorious in those matchups. And obviously, it's a great scheme too, with maybe the best partner you can have in McDuffie, an all-pro corner alongside you. That's a great thing to have alongside you as well. So I think Chamarri Conner, has a great opportunity this season to kind of showcase his talents in this system as well, and a similar skill set, and the prototypical kind of player he is very similar to L'Jarius Sneed, and I think he has a better athletic abilities, in my opinion. So I think, as much as I loved L'Jarius Sneed over the years and what he did for this team in this during this run when he was here, I think he's going to be forgettable as far as what his position is and what it means to this team and how he affects this scheme, and rather than how the scheme affects his abilities. So I think Chamarri Conner is a guy that's going to help us forget pretty quickly, me personally. So. And
then one day somebody else will come around that will replace Chamarri Conner. That's how the cycle goes.
Yep.
Get used to it, guys.
Yep.
All right, we've made this long enough for you guys. That's what she said. For you guys to wait on what's going on, for you to take the platform. It is your time. It is now time for Speak It. Trevor, what are the people asking out there, buddy?
All right, so we got Adam Cole here on YouTube. Do you expect Xavier Worthy, to contribute in special teams?
No. And I swear to God, if Dave Tobe ever puts him back there, I'm gonna go up to Arrowhead and we're gonna have a nice little talk.
There's no reason for that.
That's not gonna happen. Biggest reason why, also, and all joking aside, all threats aside, I'm really kidding when I say that, because Dave Tobe would whip my ass. You look at the guys who are gonna make this team, and if we're expecting McCole Hardman to make this roster, if we're expecting Nico Remigio to make this roster, what purpose would you have?
LRZ, possibly?
Yeah, we'll talk about that another time. The point is, I think that those two guys right there, in particular, McCole Hardman and Nico, have a history and experience of returning kicks and punts. Those are the two guys that I would trust the most, and I think that those are the guys that you would see get the opportunities first and foremost. And Xavier Worthy, to me, it would be like if there's an emergency pinch where they have to have him back there. No circumstances do I want to see their first round wide receiver back there when he's already had some hamstring scares and things of that nature. I don't want to see him get hit. So I'm gonna say hell no.
Yeah, outside of injury or something like that, or an occasion. I mean, obviously he's the one dealing with the injury in this case, which is. But yeah, I mean, it's a fun thought because of the speed factor. Obviously, I get it, but yeah, I mean, we have too much depth, and I think Tope has too many favorites and guys he's looking elsewhere. Like you said, the Nico Remigios of this world. I think that's a great guy if he makes the roster to be a big time candidate. He's already been claimed as the best returner, so far on the team as far as what Tobe's seen so far. So I think he's definitely favoring him a lot. And there's been no mention of Xavier Worthy doing special teams, and I really hope that is not the case. So
right,
yeah, Julia Gulia. Kingdom talk hype gets outside the fan base. Do you think DBs on opposing teams will purposely target LRZ for a welcome to the NFL moment? That is, if he makes the roster.
Well, if he does make the roster, I think we're looking way too far ahead of things. I think the only time you see guys like that get targeted is when they're high picks, when they're dudes that we know there's insane hype around them.
Caleb Williams is going to get a lot of those.
Yeah, you're going to get a lot of welcome to the league, motherfucker kind of moments with Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels and some of these early picks, Roma Dunze. Those are the guys that are going to get that kind of treatment. I no offense to LRZ, I'm not trying to diss him, but guys, come on. If anything, players are going to be like, hey, bro, cool story, kind of one of those things. Hey, man, that's awesome that you made it and all this other stuff. And they're not going to really give him a second thought because it's just he's a cool story at this point. So I don't think it's going to be anything like that. I think, like I said, if you're betting on any player of the Chiefs getting that kind of treatment, it's going to be Xavier Worthy. It's going to be a guy like that's expected to be a big-time household name that's the fastest player in the 40 time ever and big Texas Longhorn. Yeah, Texas Longhorn kid. Those are the kind of guys that other players look at because you know what it is? They're viewed as a real threat. And no offense to LRZ, he's not viewed as a threat, at least not at this time of his career. So they only do that to people that are threatening to them. And I think that's why you're going to be looking at guys like I said, Xavier Worthy. They're going to be dudes that are getting talked to like that.
Sure. Casey Enyart. I'm really sorry if I'm not saying that last name.
He hasn't stopped us, so it must be saying right.
Yeah, Enyart. Can Aiyuk stick around until we know when Rasheed is going to be suspended?
Well, yeah, because Brandon Aiyuk's on a roster.
Right.
So we don't know, like the trade deadline isn't until the middle of the season or late in the season, like November something. So yeah, technically Brandon Aiyuk can be around for all season. I mean, just the point is that I don't think the Chiefs are going to make the trade. If they were to make that trade, they're not going to do it based on Rashi's suspended now.
Yeah.
I think they know that suspension's inevitable.
Right.
So if they're trading for a guy, they're trading for a guy regardless of when and how long that suspension happens.
Yeah. Casey with another question. Is Hollywood a Juju 2.0?
No, not even close. They're two completely different type of players. I guess the only way I would say that they are is they're that veteran presence that I always talk about that this offense needs, where you know that he's a reliable asset. I prefer more of a Juju style of receiver than Hollywood Brown, though, because of the fact that I think he has more to his game. Hollywood Brown is more of a burner downfield type of guy. He's a smaller individual, whereas Juju is more of like a 6'1", 6'2", 200-pound receiver that can stop, get those 3rd and 5s, those chunk yards, things like that. I like guys like that a little bit more. But from a stylistic standpoint, they couldn't be more different. From a veteran standpoint, I can understand why you'd make the comparison.
Yeah, and you need both. You need the possession receivers and the speedy, more athletic, gifted guys, after the catch kind of guys. So. Yeah, we're still looking for that other Juju, if we're being honest. That we need a good, solid, big size possession receiver. So yeah, next one from our guy Ronald Adams. Who do you have that will match or better Sneed? It worries me because I worry about that a lot.
Well, Ronald, I don't want to give you a lot of false hope because none of this is false hope, but that worry is going to be going away very soon. As Trevor and I have alluded to in this last topic that we just had. Guys like L'Jarius Sneed in this defense are very interchangeable. There's a reason why the Chiefs were able to go and just get L'Jarius Sneed out of the 4th round and just plug and play him, and he became a star in this defense. He is a legitimate star of his own right.
100%.
But guys like that do come around every single year. You find guys like that in the middle of the draft all the time. And they become something because they fit the scheme, they work their ass off, and they have the skill set to make it happen. The Chiefs have about 5 guys like that on this defense right now, and I don't say that lightly. And in particular, as Trevor alluded to, and I've been alluding to for many, many months now, Chamari Connor, I believe, is that guy. And I think when you see guys like Chamari Connor and some of these other rookie guys that the Chiefs have, younger guys that they have on this team, you're going to see that they're going to find a way to overcome the absence of Sneed. Because, guys, even when Sneed was on this roster and he was gone with injuries or he was, got injured during the Bills game in the AFC Championship, they forced Joe Burrow to throw 2 picks without L'Jarius Sneed on the field. And they held opponents to 20 points per game in games that L'Jarius Sneed didn't play in. That was when he was supposed to be a guy on this team. Now they know he's not on this team. So you don't think they're even going to be even more prepared to not have him? So I'm very confident that your guys' anxiety, your guys' worries, all that stuff will be alleviated very early in the regular season when you see this defense doesn't really miss a lot of stride. Because let's be real, Nick Bolton, you can make the case in a lot of ways was just as valuable as L'Jarius Sneed in some ways. He missed almost 2 months of football, and the Chiefs defense didn't miss a beat. Drew Tranquil stepped right in, and it was like, what changed? They gave up like a couple more yards per rush or a couple more yards per game on the ground. That's about it. They were giving up like the same exact amount of points. Like 3rd downs, they were actually better than. They were better than without Nick Bolton, as crazy as that sounds. They were better against 3rd down offense. So I'm going to say, guys, that, you're going to find out real quick that this defense is going to be just fine with L'Jarius Sneed now and moving forward.
Dustin Orton. I know I came in late, so this may have been addressed. What do you think about Kyle Sheets?
So, Kyle Sheets, I'm glad this question was brought up. I saw it earlier. Let me first of all say I have 0 expectations. I usually do with guys that are undrafted free agents, guys that are just brought in, but that's how I felt about Nico Remigio initially, and then he changed my mind. What I like about Sheets is that not only was he very productive at Slippery Rock, which is a funny name, by the way, but he's 6'4".
Yeah.
And we talk about that on the show a lot about like having wide receivers with size on them. He's 6'4", over 200 pounds. I like that idea of him maybe getting a crack at it. Maybe him and Justin Ross are the ones that are competing for that final spot. If they end up, crazily enough wanting to keep 7 receivers. I don't think that's going to be the case. I think they're going to want to use that somewhere else on the roster. But if there was hey, let's keep 7. We like what we're seeing from this kid over here, Sheets. We like Justin Ross. Let's see which one can win, because I think they have a similar skill set. But, his last season at college, man, he had 17 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Cool story I saw as well. Excuse me. Sheets also completed a 48-yard pass in his college career, and his only snap as a cornerback, he got an interception. So, he's an athlete. Yeah. This dude's an athlete, and I like the athletic ability. Am I expecting this dude to make the roster? No.
They signed him.
Yeah. So I'll look forward to watching him in preseason and training camp.
I love stories like this, man. I love kind of come from the bottom gutter kind of, guy that, because those guys have drive. You know what I mean? And like guys like, that's why we like Remigio and guys like that they're trying their best to make their dreams come true.
Yes.
So these are the guys that it's funny because you got guys like that starving for an opportunity to make their dreams come true, and you got guys like Kadarius Toney. He hasn't really done jack shit in his career, and he acts like he's Michael Jackson out here, just on top of the world, some massive pop star or something. It's a strange thing, but I love the Sheets signing. I hope he makes the roster because I like guys that want to prove themselves. That those are guys that can be contagious in a locker room as well. So I'm all for the young guys with drive that want to, make their dreams come true and be a part of a championship caliber team that's trying to make history here. So, I don't know who all is going to make this team in this wide receiver room, but if a guy like that proves himself and he's worthy of being on this roster, then I'm all for it, man. So I love it. I love his size and his abilities too. That adds a new dynamic. We talk about possession receiver. That guy can definitely become, a 3rd and 5, 3rd and 6 kind of guy that can go, get you to the sticks. So I like the story. I hope we give him a legitimate chance. So Justin Norton with another one. Oh, that was the last one. I'm sorry. Julia Gooley with the next question. Patrick has made public appearances with Smith and Humphrey. He also had them both seated next to him during the ring ceremony. A signal to Veach.
Yeah, ask that question one more time. I didn't understand it.
Patrick has made public appearances with Smith and Humphrey. He also had them both seated next to him during the ring ceremony. A signal to Veach. Basically asking, is that a signal to Veach to pay these guys, extend these guys?
There's no coincidences. Look, Patrick knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
And Patrick knows, and this is why I always have this stance, because I know this is the stance Patrick has, is that he knows that how important it is to be protected, because 2020 will forever live in infamy for us in Kansas City. That was a Super Bowl the Chiefs should have won. They were the best team in the league. 14-1 in games that Patrick Mahomes played that season. That was the last season before they went to a 17-game schedule, which means that the Chiefs lost one legitimate game all season. Patrick Mahomes should have won MVP that year.
Yeah.
They had the number one offense. He was the best quarterback in the league, obviously. Defense was playing decent football. They rolled through the playoffs. That was a fun season. And their offensive line was completely depleted. That's the single reason why the Chiefs lost the Super Bowl. Let's be real, man. The Buccaneers benefited off the fact
it was a competent foe. The Buccaneers.
But Trevor, but during that season, we saw them go to Tampa Bay with just a halfway healthy offensive line.
It was a tale of two halves, though. We were awful that second half.
Andy Reid took per usual, took his foot off the gas. The Chiefs were up 27-0.
That was a great defense of the Buccaneers, though, bro.
I get it, Trevor, but they were destroying them. It wasn't the Buccaneers defense that almost won that game
for one half, and then they destroyed us for an entire game in the Super Bowl. But granted, I get it. That's not the offensive line was.
The point is, Trevor, if the Chiefs had Mitchell Schwartz and Eric Fisher, do they win that Super Bowl?
They have a better chance for sure.
We're picking them because they were still like 3.5.
I picked us regardless.
They were like 3.5 point favorites without both of them. That's my point. Is that the Chiefs should have won that Super Bowl, man, and I will forever be scarred by it. So the point I'm trying to make is Patrick Mahomes doesn't want to relive that, and he believes that if you lose those guys, there is a very significant chance that happens again, because not only these guys, the best guys that he's had, they're the most durable. They stay healthy. Both these guys have never missed a game in their career. So let's keep it that way. You know what I mean? So Patrick was like, pay my guys.
Yeah.
And we saw, like you said earlier, Trevor, about how, Patrick has become, he didn't feel like he had that voice before. The man's a 3-time Super Bowl champion, and he's not even 29 yet. So you better believe he's got the gall to say, hey, pay my dues. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
please.
I just wanted to clarify too, our guy Casey Inyart. And by the way, you were saying my last name correct. It's pronounced Inyart. So thank you for clarifying that. I didn't want to feel like an idiot. I want to be respectful as possible. I want to pronounce people's last names because we get called Tidwell, Treadmill
all the time.
All the time. I get called Travis all the time. My name is Trevor, for God's sakes.
I get called Daddy, but that's different. So.
Yeah.
Anyway,
that never happens. But okay, let's see. Next one, Julia Gulia. Nick Bolton Nick Bolton in the games I've seen where Henry was the RB. Shut him down. This is true. Baltimore fans told me on an older Henry is a different animal in their offense. Should I be nervous week 1?
No, I don't think. Okay, the nervousness I think of the Chiefs is that they come out flat because that was the whole reason why they lost week 1 last season against the Lions, and the Lions were a formidable opponent. They were in the NFC Championship last year, but the reason why the Chiefs lost that game was what? Kadarius Toney shit his pants all game long, and they lost by 1 freaking point. Didn't have Travis Kelce, didn't have Chris Jones, and still almost should have won that game. Yeah. So the only way, and I don't want to predict this game already, guys, because we've still got a few, 6, 7, 8 weeks to go. The only way the Chiefs are going to lose this game against the Ravens on banner night is if the Chiefs go out there and shit their pants. That's the majority of the Chiefs' losses in the Mahomes era. How often, Trevor, have we seen from wire to wire a team just beat the Chiefs? There was one game last year that I know for sure.
Yeah, the Green Bay game.
The Green Bay game.
We got our ass.
They just wire to wire beat the Chiefs.
Yeah.
Outside of that, it's very sporadic. It's like once every 13 to 15 games.
Titans have beaten us a couple times.
Yes,
yeah.
27-3, beat the fuck out of the Chiefs. Like there's something. I'm not saying it never happens. I'm saying that it's a rare occasion.
Like once every other year.
Yes,
maybe.
So I'm gonna say the Ravens aren't gonna come in here and just beat the Chiefs. No. I don't think the matchup's there, and losing their defensive coordinator, losing pieces on their defense.
Sure.
You guys know I love Derek John Henry. I'm Derek John Henry to the T, dude. I love that
offensive line and Lamar.
Yes,
yeah, sure.
he adds something to the offense. But here's the thing: what he adds to the offense is what they already had. So it's not like he's adding something to their offense that they've been missing. Yeah. They've always had great running games.
So what? Tread on those tires.
They're just more of the same. That's basically what the Ravens are now. It's just more of the same.
Yeah.
So I don't think they're going to come in here and run for 400 yards on the Chiefs because the Chiefs know what's coming. And they've played very well against this Ravens team the majority of the last 5-6 years.
As Julie Gulia said, Nick Bolton has had Derrick Henry's number a lot of the time. He's stuffed him at the line numerous times, which is very rare.
That's because Nick Bolton is maybe the best linebacker at downhill tackling.
Yeah, he's old school.
He's unbelievable at it. He's so great at seeing the runner, getting to the line, and just piercing.
Roquan Smith, another guy that too, yeah.
He's so good at it. So, yes, no wonder he's so great against Derrick Henry. He doesn't because Derrick Henry, this is what his strength is. He gets to the line and he starts speeding up, climbing. Now he's got this full speed.
Don't give him open field, bro.
Yes, once he gets past the linebackers, you're not getting him.
Yeah.
So Derrick Henry is a guy that Nick knows. Hey, if I hit him at the line, he ain't getting no momentum, dude. That's why Nick's so good against guys like him. So I say guys like him. There's only one Derrick Henry, but don't be nervous. Don't be nervous yet. Let this defense. They won the benefit of the doubt last season, man. Let them continue to have that benefit of the doubt until they prove otherwise.
Yeah. It's going to be a fun matchup to watch. I'm looking forward to it. I cannot wait to bet on it. Can't wait. Fingers are tingling. Next one, Anthony Manzano. How much do you guys think the Chiefs would have to give up for Brandon Aiyuk?
Well, that's okay.
We touched on this already, but I'm going to give him this.
Yeah, sure. I think right now, if let's say the Chiefs were in trade talks right now with the Niners, I'm going to say that you're going to have to give up the 2025 first overall pick, and then they do pick swaps at the end of the year because the Niners also know that the Chiefs are going to have to pay Brandon Aiyuk. So it isn't like a one-sided trade because the Niners would be getting out of it having to pay a wide receiver a ton of money when they know that they're already one of the most expensive teams in the league and they have a decision to make with Brock Purdy in a year.
Yeah.
So I think what's going to happen is you'd see the Chiefs give up it's basically the 31st or 32nd overall pick and then pick swaps for fourth round picks. Maybe the Chiefs have to give up an additional conditional 6 or something. Chiefs give up first a conditional 6 and swap fourths with the Niners for Brandon Aiyuk. That's something I think would happen. So that's probably how it would go.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah.
Wink on YouTube. I know every team has to worry about it, but will hip drop tackle penalties screw us?
Yes. Yeah, it's going to screw every team. This is going to be something that we're going to have to get used to because the league, once again, is going to try to overprotect. And I don't necessarily blame them on this one because we've seen guys get really hurt on this one, in particular Patrick Mahomes.
Yep.
Arden Key, I don't care what anybody tells me. I don't care what anyone says. I will die on this hill. That was a dirty fucking play.
They can be those plays can be dirty for sure.
Arden knew what he was doing, bro. Arden Key and guys like him have been tackling human beings since they were kids. You know how to tackle. And when you shift your body and just let yourself go like a dead body and let yourself fall on their ankles, you know what you're doing. You know what you're doing. And that's what Arden Key did on that play. Almost cost the Chiefs a Super Bowl. That happens a lot. And it's almost like those plays, sometimes you can't tell, but there's other ones that are so blatantly obvious that are dirty that's why the league had to do something about this. Because we see it every single year. Tony Pollard. That play was horseshit when that dude tackled him the way that he did. The tight end for the Ravens, the Bengals player, when he wrapped him up like that was horseshit. That was a horrible play. It's so obvious because Trevor, most of us that are watching the show, listening right now, we've all been watching football for more than a decade, right?
Yeah.
So you get familiarized with what tackles look like. We know what a legit tackle is, and some guys just get hurt. But then you see like a tackle and you're like, dude, you moved your body in a way that you shouldn't have. Like, we know what you just did. Like, you clearly were trying to hurt the guy. That's why they had to make this law, and I'm in support of it. But yes,
I am
there
too.
are going to be some that are going to be like, "Oh, are you kidding me? That's a bullshit call."
Yeah, I am too. I'm in favor of it. I think it makes sense to protect our guys that much more. But I think that the part that's going to when Wink says "screw us," I think there's going to be some inconsistencies, especially in single games where it's called on us when we're on defense, and there's going to be moments where other teams are going to deal with this as well. I just think there's going to be inconsistencies across the league among certain different officiating crews. Where it's going to be inconsistent as far as, this game's called that way, then another game's called that way, or in game, the Chiefs get one called against us on Chris Jones, probably, or something like that, and then one blatant one against Patrick Mahomes in the next possession, or like a couple possessions later, then doesn't get called. That's when it's going to screw us, I think, in that sense.
Inconsistencies in the NFL? Come on, Trev. Really? Inconsistencies? Come on.
That's the part that's going to be most annoying about it.
I guarantee you what you're going to see, guys. Preseason starts up. You're going to see those flags flying constantly to try to get the players involved. And it's a cycle. Then you have the media in an uproar. Everyone, that's going to be the hottest topic of preseason is Dak Prescott's contract and those weird slide tackles. So what you're going to see is the league get real aggressive at first. The media uproars and there's pushback. They're going to ask all the head coaches. There's going to be one pissed off coach who gets fined for it. And then you're going to see the league kind of gradually take a step back. That's what's going to happen every time.
Honestly, is the right way to do it, though. As much as it sucks, I'll give NFL credit. I mean, they're a league that's all constantly trying to evolve, whether it's to draw more fans in, or to make the game better, or to protect their players. Yeah, they're always this league's, especially in the last decade, is constantly trying to evolve. I mean, I don't know what the hell they were thinking when they're trying to take celebrations away from touchdowns. That was the dumbest thing I think I've ever seen. But yeah, I mean, I think this league's always trying to evolve, and trying to do better. And I think protecting their guys, especially quarterbacks, on these kind of tackles makes a lot of sense, man. So I think they're trying to make this game better. And I think it will be over exaggerated early in the year, and I think it will kind of, level out a little bit.
Sure.
More calling on the egregious ones. Our guy James T. Kirk. Next question. The First Things First crew argued about what NFL team has the best roster. Some say the 49ers or Philadelphia. Nick says it's the Chiefs. Do you agree with Nick?
I think, I watched that segment. I'm going to be real with you. That segment kind of upset me because I felt like they were all having like different conversations at once. What Nick was saying was, well, the Chiefs have the best player on their roster, therefore they have the best roster.
Yeah, this is a tricky conversation.
Then Broussard was talking about how, well, these other teams are deeper. And so Nick was replying with, okay, so it's about depth. Right. No, I'm looking at best overall. And so I felt like they were having two completely different conversations. If you're asking me the question who has the deepest roster, the Chiefs don't have the deepest roster, in my opinion.
Yeah, Philly and the Niners for sure.
Yes, I think there are a couple rosters that are just deeper than the Chiefs. Sure. But if we're looking at like top end talent or top end star talent, and like Nick said, Nick to his point, if you're to like take all the rosters and you're building your team, you're taking the Chiefs have like three players you're taking in the top
Mahomes
five.
Mahomes is so much better than all the other guys.
Yeah,
Travis Kelce is so much better than all those other guys.
And Chris Jones is going to be in one of your picks. Yeah,
we have the three best guys at positions.
And you're probably taking Harrison Butker as your kicker, if not Justin Tucker.
The way my logic works, I would say the Chiefs though too, because I do kind of agree with Nick in the way he's analyzing.
But that's a whole different discussion.
Yeah, there's nuance here.
Yeah,
like how are you? That's a tough actual realistic conversation to have because you got
it needed to be more detailed.
It's like saying, "What's your favorite movie?" Let's talk genre.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like that.
You can't really say favorite movie because there's like 12 different genres.
Right. Yeah.
So
You're
yeah,
not going to be
you have
talking
to
about Silence of the
segment it.
Lambs with
Yes.
Ace Ventura.
Right. You have to
You know what I mean?
segment it. So if you were to ask me, hey, who has the best roster from a star perspective? I'd say Chiefs.
Yeah.
Who has the deepest roster? I'd probably say Eagles.
Yeah.
Eagles are, like you said, probably the 49ers. I think the 49ers probably have the deepest overall roster. But yeah, it's hard for me to say that the Chiefs have the best roster from a depth perspective. They don't, in my opinion. Star, they clearly do because they have three of the biggest stars in the NFL.
Yeah, they perform at the highest level when the
Yeah.
games, the stakes are the highest.
Right.
Right. And they've proven that. And Andy Reid obviously kind of caps it all off. Having
Right.
that kind of a coach. So yeah, good question though. Final question from James T. Kirk. How much would you pay Tranquil next season over Bolton since you're so down on Bolton? I think you're off because Bolton is a damned good player.
Who's down on Bolton?
No one's down on Bolton. I just think like me and Lance have different. I would love to keep Bolton here. I think Lance would love to keep him here as well. But I think money wise and logic kind of tells us all that what we saw when he was absent and Tranquil's abilities. Tranquil's already been paid, so that's kind of get that out of the way. So,
Yeah, 3-year deal.
Yeah, he's locked in for the next 2-3 seasons. So Bolton is he's probably going to be expensive, man, especially if he balls out again this year and stays healthy. Bolton's probably going to demand too much money, especially when we got guys like we've discussed, Trey Smith and other guys that we'd rather keep here at this point.
Well, yeah, and then I guess I'll ask a question to answer the question. If it costs $17 to $20 million a year to keep Nick Bolton, are you paying that, or are you going to go and get a top-tier wide receiver?
Yeah.
Like, this is a business, guys,
Definitely
and we all love Nick Bolton. But like I've been saying for the last, like on an earlier part of the show, there are players on this team that you're going to have to be willing to let go, like L'Jarius Sneed. That's going to continue to happen. There are going to be more instances like that than Chris Jones, where you pay him, because there are fewer Chris Joneses than there are L'Jarius Sneeds.
Yeah.
You will have L'Jarius Sneeds. You will have Nick Boltons. Those guys come and go. You have to understand that, guys. Nick Bolton is not a piece that the Chiefs have to win Super Bowls. You know why I know that? Because they won a Super Bowl before Nick Bolton ever played here.
Yeah.
And they had one of the worst middle linebackers in Anthony Hitchens, and they still won the Super Bowl.
Yeah, Nick Bolton, for me, the reason obviously he's a great player and I love him. I love those old school throwback linebackers, but those guys are pretty replaceable in today's game, if I'm being honest. He's not the fastest, and speed really matters on the linebacker position now. It's become a smaller, more slender, faster, lateral movement kind of position now, because of the undersized, speedy receivers they got to deal with nowadays in today's game. So that makes him a little more replaceable. But I break my own rule with him kind of, because I tend to tell everybody not to get too emotionally attached to certain players. He's a homegrown kid, played in Mizzou, was a Chiefs fan, like those kind of things. That kind of gets me attached to him. So that's kind of one of the main reasons why I'm kind of caping for him a little bit. But at the end of the day, if it comes down to, I've swayed on this a little bit too. But if it comes down to paying him or Trey Smith, I'm more on the Trey Smith side of things now at this point. Earlier I wasn't, but yeah, I think I'm there. But that's, James T. Kirk, man, we would do anything, love to have at the right price, keep him here. But if it comes down to paying him and the Trey Smith, it's going to be Trey Smith every time. Next question from Matthew Bridgman. For the last Super Bowl, besides the fact that we won against the 49ers, who would you have rather had as an opponent, 49ers or Lions? I think the Lions would have been. We already beat the Niners.
That would have been a better story.
Yeah, Lions would have been fun because we met them week 1 and would have finished them off, got our revenge week in the Super Bowl. But either way, man, having two matchups with the Niners has been.
I won't lie. Dominating one of the best franchises of all time it feels really fucking good.
Yeah.
Especially when you see Jerry Rice acting like a little bitch on the golf course.
Andy Reid just sons Kyle Shanahan.
Yeah,
bro.
and I also love the fact that they silenced the Brock Purdy hyperbole for at least an offseason, because it was getting out of hand, man. And I'm not a Brock Purdy hater. In fact, I like Brock Purdy. I think he's a good quarterback. He is not the quarterback people think he is.
He's really good. Yeah.
And I've been trying to. I got in a debate with our guy Jeff Allen, former Chief.
Yeah.
He keeps trying to say Brock Purdy's a top 10 quarterback. Guys, I'm telling you,
He's not top 10, bro.
you see the difference even when he
stats are there right now.
But even when he just misses Deebo Samuel, you see his numbers drop drastically. You're gonna see it, guys. Like Brock Purdy eventually is gonna have. If they pay him, he's gonna have to be a guy that carries a lesser talented offense. They're not going to be able to stay this talented forever.
Yeah.
You're not going to have George Kittle forever. You're not going to have Debo and Brandon Aiyuk forever. Christian McCaffrey's going to age. Eventually, it'd have to be Brock Purdy's offense. He, right now, is just one of the guys. And so you saw the hyperbole kind of die down, especially the way he played in the Super Bowl. He didn't play terrible, but you could clearly tell he was very limited on the field. You could tell like it took a couple big Juwan Jennings plays for them to get their passing game going.
Oh yeah,
it took Christian McCaffrey to make some big plays. It
some
really
illegal blocks.
Yeah, man. You know what I'm saying? Like the whole reason that game was even close is because the Chiefs' offense absolutely sucked.
Yeah,
their offense sucked last year, so that's the whole reason why that game was close. But yeah, the revenge tour game would have been fun because the Chiefs lost Week 1 against the Lions.
I would probably prefer the Lions last year.
It'd been
personally.
Fun. It'd been a lot of fun.
Yeah, but I don't, like I said, both those matchups were incredible. But yeah, the Lions would have been fun just because, two Midwest teams. That'd be a cool story. Two teams that have kind of, the Lions are kind of on their trajectory now, similar to what the Chiefs were. Kind of coming up and becoming a legitimate, respectable team.
Oh, sure.
Especially Detroit, alone making the Super Bowl.
I think they have the fifth best odds for the Super Bowl this year, 5th or 6th.
Yeah, I was low key rooting for the Lions all year. Yeah. Like I was really happy for that fan base. They're getting their moment. And they could be right back at this year. I think their team's locked and loaded and ready to go this next year too. So that could happen this year. Who knows, man? Next question from Max Wasson. Not really a football question, but do you think Patrick Mahomes would chip in to form an ownership group to land an NBA team?
Oh, without question. I think if I'm betting, man, I think Patrick's already doing that. Man. I think Patrick's already trying to do that.
Yeah, I think he's even. I think the Timberwolves when they were, or it wasn't Timberwolves. It was that
was Alex Rodriguez who bought that.
No, yeah, but I think when they were available though, I think KC Wolves. Remember we were talking about that being like a thing.
The problem is
about it. I remember that.
The problem is, guys, that the market here in Kansas City is so down the totem pole when it comes to like Seattle, Vancouver. Other spots in the country, or not even in this country, that just have a bigger market. Those are going to be the places to get a shot first, before the Chiefs before the Kansas City gets a shot at a team. So yeah. I want an NBA team more than anything out here. I've never been to an NBA game. Full disclosure, I love the NBA. I would love to have an NBA team here in Kansas City. I'm not a jersey guy. I would buy a jersey immediately because that would excite the living hell out of me. But yeah, I think even with Patrick Mahomes' poll, it would take a substantial miracle for them to pass up some of these other bigger markets and come to Kansas City, especially with OKC only being a few hours away. They feel like they've already kind of tapped this market a little bit because I know a lot of people that live in Kansas City to go to OKC games, buy season tickets that are OKC Thunder fans. So one of our former co-hosts, Eddie Ortiz, big Thunder fan. Like Kansas City's been kind of reached by the Thunder. So they might look at it that way and say, well, Seattle did great back in the day with Supersonics. Let's give them another chance. Vancouver used to do great with the Grizzlies. Let's give them another shot. Like, there's just a couple markets out there that I just think are going to have what's their faces got their team. Toronto. When Toronto got their team, you saw how embraced that team was by that fan base.
And plus, a narrative too that hasn't really been talked about. It is tough to go just bring an NBA team here and compete with the Chiefs and the Royals. If the Royals continue to get better, they're going to be talking, an NBA team being third fiddle in a city that, is going to get more and more saturated. And we're already, not that I think the fans out here are so incredible though, that we can support numerous. Okay, look what we're doing with, women's soccer and soccer in general out here is blowing up. And we love Sporting KC, and what they've been doing. Even minor league baseball has a great fan base out here. So, the two sports I follow passionately more than anything is baseball and basketball, or basketball and football, right? So like, I'm a big NBA fan. I love the NBA. So I would absolutely, it's been a dream of mine to have an NBA team here. I'm a Sacramento Kings fan, but I can't just go to a Kings game because I don't just get to go to NorCal whenever I want. But yeah, I'm a big basketball fan. I would absolutely love it. And KU, gets me by basketball wise, but man, it would be awesome to have that in this city. I think we have the fans that would support it. But yeah, it's a pipe dream at this point though, right now, if I'm being honest. Next one from our guy, Micah Hayes. Sup guys? Did anything ever come from the Hardman tampering allegations? Did the league launch an investigation? That's a good question.
Yeah, well,
I kind of forgot about that.
The reason nothing came from it is because it was a bunch of shit.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of bitter Jets players that knew that he got to go back to a Super Bowl winning team.
I gave them numerous L's too.
And they tried so hard to make him out to be this bad guy, and he basically said, okay, prove it. Because McColl immediately came out and denied it.
Yeah.
Which always tells me that, he's innocent. I'm not saying that every person that ever immediately denies something is innocent, but I'm saying when they stay silent for a long period of time, like when this whole thing with the car happened and we didn't hear anything from Rashi for like 3-4 days, we're like, shit. Yeah. Remember I even said, I was like, the longer it's silent, the more guilty he looks. And McColl immediately said, no, I did not fucking do that. And since then, nothing's come of it. So that tells me one thing. They were full of shit.
Last question from Casey Inyart. Does defense still win championships? No! No, I was kidding. No.
Well, I think
a combination of the two, man. But yeah, I mean, defense. We just did it last year, buddy.
Statements like that kind of piss me off, though. Because
it's the wrong question.
It makes it sound like if you have a great defense, no matter how bad your offense is, you're going to win the title. Like, that's not how it goes, because you still have to manufacture points. Yeah. And when you have a team with Patrick Mahomes as your quarterback, I don't think that your defense is ever going to be attributed the win. Now, more than ever, it was attributed to them last season because of how great the defense was. But we know at the end of the day, Trevor, in the Bills game, Patrick Mahomes was magical. Yeah. In that Ravens game, he made some unbelievable plays.
Travis Kelce's numbers.
Jesus Christ. And in the 49ers,
all time, dude.
In the Super Bowl, the offense wasn't great, obviously. Yeah. But Travis Kelce came alive in the second half, and Patrick Mahomes put some dimes down the field, and 𝚂𝙿𝙾𝙺 made the clutch throw. Like it was the offense that finished the game. Yeah. You know what I mean? It was the offense that finished the game. And if we're being honest, the defense didn't have their best game in the Super Bowl. Yeah. They didn't play terrible, but they didn't play their best. They played okay. Chris Jones played really, really good, but like
half was rough.
Yeah, Christian McCaffrey was going off. Juwan Jennings was going off. Like they were doing some stuff.
We fell victim to a couple trick plays. Yeah, and kudos to Kyle Shanahan, a hell of a coach. Dude draws them
absolutely
up just as good as anybody. So yeah, I mean,
but I hate those like blanket statements.
Yeah, it's the wrong question.
Yeah, I hate blanket statements like defense wins championships. Well, they play a part, but like again, we've seen Patrick Mahomes win 2 Super Bowls with defenses that were giving up 25 points per game.
It's the same thing as like when I hear like, oh, the best team didn't win, or the better or the like when people think the best team was this team and they end up losing, it's not really true, because you got to take that by week situation. Like we could talk about a team being the best team, but in that game they were not the best team,
right?
Because the better team won in those moments, right? The Niners were pretty much the best team in football almost all year last year. They were up there with everybody.
Well, matchups are what make what happens happen. You know what I mean? Like if you want to go by blanket statements, matchups, yeah, because like especially in single game elimination scenarios, yeah, the better team doesn't always win. You know how I know that? The Giants weren't better than the Patriots either time they beat them in the Super Bowl. Right. They were not the better team. It was a matchup, and in that matchup, the Giants fared well against the Patriots. Yeah. But the Patriots would have faced anybody else in that Super Bowl, they'd have won. But because that matchup, that specific matchup, dude, the fucking Giants were 9-7 both those seasons. They weren't great. They were wild card teams. The Packers, they had all those guys on the IR, and Aaron Rodgers led that little crazy young team. Yep. They weren't the better team between them and the Steelers.
Right.
But Aaron Rodgers was a god, and he just killed them. He killed everybody in that playoff run. He was murdering folks. That's just like the Chiefs. They weren't the better overall team in the Super Bowl. The Niners were. They were. They were the better team all season long. Dude, the Niners were the best team in the league last season.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
And the Chiefs still beat them. It's a matchup perspective.
On that day, they were not the better team. Yeah. We were the better team that day because we finished the game.
And shout out to Casey, man. Great questions, great dialogue, man. Dude, I don't want to single. Awesome, chat's been awesome all day, and shout out to every single one of you guys. Yeah. I mean every one of you. Casey, I don't know how long you've been around, man, but thank you for coming in, man. We had a great time as well. Thank you.
Oh yeah, we enjoyed those pushback and those.
Hell yeah,
that gives us great content.
That is literally what we're asking you guys to do. Yeah. Like, give us that stuff.
If you don't do it, we're gonna end up doing it ourselves, on or off camera. And we want
you guys to be a part of it. Yeah. So we want you guys to be a part of it.
We do this shit for free off camera, dude. Yeah. Like this is. We just happen to turn cameras on and just kind of go. So exactly. We appreciate you guys, man. It's all love in the chat.
There's no acting here, man. This is literally how it is 24/7 in the Twidwell residence. But I'm assuming that's it from the chat.
That is all the questions.
God, fucking great, God. Great job, guys. We really do appreciate you guys for being a part of this. We literally wouldn't and couldn't do it without you guys. So I tell you at the top, tell you at the bottom of every show, get to youtube.com, Spoken Podcast. Hit subscribe, like, notify, share, all that stuff. We really do appreciate every single one of those buttons you push. But get in the chat as well, guys, because that is literally what makes the show great, is you guys participating in it. So we would not want to do this show without you guys. So with that said, Trevor, we have one more order of business to get to. What is it called? Hold this L. Each and every episode, we finish off every single episode with a series of L's in the world of sports. Whether those L's are friendly or not so friendly L's in the world of sports, we promise you, whoever is holding those L's in the world of sports deserve those L's in the world of sports. Trevor Twidwell, who's holding L for you this week?
All right, so we all know that for all my baseball fans, not the biggest baseball guy, but the All-Star weekend just had passed just recently. Had the Home Run Derby, and the All-Star game itself. But I think what stole the show for the majority of viewers was the incredible national anthem sung by the country singer Ingrid Andress. Honestly, I had no idea who she was. I guess she's a pretty famous country song.
She was like a 4-time Grammy nominee, dude.
Yeah.
Isn't that nuts? I've never heard of her.
Drunk out of her mind. And look, I'm not kicking anybody when they're down because I believe she checked herself into rehab after this, but she was
good on her.
Absolutely drunk. Sang herself into rehab, though, because this performance was one for the ages in the worst way possible. I'm going to try to find the clip here to kind of maybe give you guys a little teaser of what it sounded like, but it was, she gave, what was her name? The sang the national anthem in the NBA.
Are you talking about Fergie?
Yeah, Fergie.
Yeah,
she gave her a run for her money, man. It was one of the worst things I've ever seen. I'm not even gonna play it because it's just gonna kill the air and it's just gonna make all our ears bleed. But listen, like I said, I don't want to kick anyone when they're down. And she's trying to better herself, and I have a big heart for people that struggle with addiction. It's running rampant in my family, alcoholism and things like that. So I'm not trying to make light of that situation, but my God, the scrutiny and the criticism of the performance was well due because it was terrible. And whoever decided it was a good idea to continue to give her drinks, whoever her crew is, that her management crew that helps her and her circle, stop her at 3 drinks. I mean, Jesus Christ, it was horrible. It was really, really bad. America deserves better. To be honest, that was All-Star weekend for the MLB is such an American thing. It's a right around the 4th of July season time. It's summertime. It's a very American patriotic time of the year. And that was just a rough thing to watch. So for that, country music superstar, 4-time Grammy winner, Ingrid Andress, please do me a solid favor and hold this L.
If you want a sober guy that can sing terribly, have Trevor do your guys' national anthem. Perfect.
I will kill it.
Grab this microphone. All right. Well, I have a very happy L for you guys. We know that sports media has been going in the clunker slowly but rapidly at the same time for the last 15 years. Hot takes, clickbait stuff, all that stuff, you can almost directly attribute it and congratulate with and credit it with to Skip Bayless. He started off, not as that guy, even though he always had fiery takes and things like that. He's always been known as a passionate dude. But once Cold Pizza and First Take really started to take off, you could tell that he was doing things and saying things to get reaction, and it was working. It was genius for a very long time. The number one target he had negatively was LeBron James. The number one target he had positively, ironically, was Aaron Rodgers, until all of a sudden he decided to turn heel on Aaron Rodgers. But Tim Tebow was one of his other guys. I remember he got real big and famous off that as well. All he does is win. And now he attacks Patrick Mahomes because, of course, says that Joe Burrow is the better quarterback. He says that he would take Caleb Williams over Patrick in the clutch, even though you can't even substantiate that. But, we a lot of us we always, when it comes to people that know Skip Bayless or understand Skip Bayless, we know that the one thing you can always give him is he is dedicated to his craft. More so than probably anybody. Colin Cowherd's always said this too. He goes, no one is more dedicated to their job than Skip Bayless. He is up at 2 a.m. every single day. And he is a health freak. Dude eats broccoli and chicken every single day. Works out every single day. Dude is in his mid-70s and looks incredible outside of his melted face. But that guy takes care of his health. That man he's a robot. And I will forever give him that credit.
Discipline.
Outside of that, Skip Bayless can go to hell. Because in my opinion, and I love sports media because I consider Trevor and I a part of sports media, in a lot of ways, and I don't want to say has ruined it because it can still always heal and get better, but in a lot of ways has dismantled and stunted the growth of this next generation of media because of the fact of what he's trained these people to say and do, to the point where it's dishonest takes just by nature, in its nature. And that's a scary thing to have, is to have something dishonest in its origin. You know, when we talk about things in life we have to learn and be taught, that's one thing. You can avoid those things. You can teach people from the beginning of how to avoid things. Media today, it feels like you almost by nature have to be like a Skip Bayless to make it. And that sucks. Well, the good thing about that, though, is they always say all good things come to an end. Yeah, well, so do bad things. And if we see right here, Trevor, we can put up that first one real quick so everybody knows what's going on. It says right here, guys, according to the news, that Skip Bayless might be coming to an end. According to Ari Myrov, Skip Bayless is leaving FS1 in his role as co-host of Undisputed after 8 years, per Sports Report. His final show will be later this summer, which we're assuming is probably going to be like August before the football season kicks off. You think initially, oh, well, that means that, he's probably going to go back to ESPN because we had heard reports that ESPN was, interested in reuniting him and Stephen A. Smith, because they had an electric show just even before the Shannon Sharp joined Skip Bayless back in 2016 over in FS1. Here's the next slide. Oh, would you look at it? ESPN is not interested in rehiring Skip Bayless per McCarthy Rev. In other words, boys and girls, Skip Bayless is finally finished. Because those are the only two networks that are going to mean jack shit for Skip Bayless to have a format. If he's anywhere else, no one's paying attention. And quite frankly, no one's been paying attention since Shannon Sharp left his show this last year.
The show's awful.
It is terrible. Paul Pierce had to replace Richard Sherman, who's got his own addiction problems. You got Keyshawn on there that just is basically just be a fill-in gap guy to just debate and Skip, and it's the most boring-ass show. They got Lil Wayne on Fridays. They have two, dudes that manage Lil Wayne's estate on his show every once in a while. I don't even know who these two clowns are, but it's the same regurgitated bullshit over and over and over again, and it might finally be dead. Where shows that are thriving, like First Things First, can finally start to flap their wings a little bit more. And what do you know? We got the announcement, and this is a little bit of a W as well, that First Things First is getting an extra half hour per day of shows. So now they'll be on from 3 to 5 Eastern time.
Oh yeah. 2
to 4 here in Central time. So there's good shows coming about. There's good shows that are getting more opportunities, and they're trimming the fat. And the fat, ironically, is the guy that has no fat on his body at all, and that is Skip Bayless. So for that, and it's so sad too because Skip has built a legacy, and he has a big legacy.
He's the villain,
but his legacy is an embarrassment. His legacy is dishonest hot takes to get himself attention at any cost possible. Even when he's talking about homophobic things, or he's talking about mental disorders and how he doesn't want Dak Prescott to be his quarterback because he's too worried about his family, his brother committing suicide. He doesn't want people worrying about that. And when Damar Hamlin literally dies on a football field, well, what are they going to do about this game? When Mike McCarthy's too big of a coach, he doesn't want his coach to be fat. There's all treating women on their platform lesser than the men on his shows. That all is coming to an end. And from everything that we are hearing about his relationship with everybody that he works with, some people try to stand up for the guy, but the majority of people cannot stand the dude. That's why they all stay silent. And I cannot wait for the day when people can start speaking out against Skip Bayless, who's once known as a powerhead juggernaut. For that, do me a solid, Skip Bayless, and your entire embarrassment of a legacy, and hold this L. Awesome show today. We appreciate every single one of you that have been a part of it. Chat was live. Chat was awesome. Trev, thanks so much, man, for running the ones and twos over there. I appreciate every single one of you guys for what you do for the show. You guys make it fun for me every single week. I literally just get to come up here and just talk and just run my mouth, and you guys react to it. It is the funnest thing I've ever done in my life. I say that every single time. That's why we do this show as much as we do it, because I'm literally addicted to it. It is my favorite thing to do. We made it through the offseason, guys, because, guys, training camp is in full swing, full motion.
We here.
Everybody is reported. Everybody's there. It's awesome now, guys. Football season is right here. We're less than 50 days away. I think it's like 47 days away now. I could not be more stoked, man. Before you know, we're going to be giving you guys predictions. We're going to be giving you guys week in and week out analysis. I can't wait. We're going to have guests again. We're going to have all kinds of good stuff. Please stay tuned to this. And if you've not told your friends, if you've not done it yourself, subscribe to our YouTube channel. We greatly appreciate it. And before we get out of here, guys, I also wanted to make an announcement. I was talking to our guys from All Chiefed Up, Mike Williams in particular. Wanted to let you guys know we have this annual tradition that we do now. It started last season, where we meet up over at 𝚂𝙿𝙸 Barbecue on the Missouri side of things over there in Independence. If you guys want to come meet us on August 7th, we are going to have a great time like we did last year. It's a Wednesday night. It's at 7 p.m., so it's not too late. So just come have dinner with us at 𝚂𝙿𝙸 location, Blue Springs. I apologize, at Independence, but it's in Blue Springs. Trevor will try to make it. His schedule kind of conflicts with that, but I will definitely be out there. So if you guys want to come hang out with us and meet in person, we'd love to have you guys out there. We'll be the 𝚂𝙿𝙸 Barbecue joint in Blue Springs, Wednesday night, August 7th at 7 p.m. with All Chiefed Up and the Spoken Podcast. Probably have some other guests as well. Haley Lewis was there last year as well, and she was great. Awesome time hanging out with Haley. And we met some great people out there as well. Got some of you guys actually from that show. We'd love to have you guys out. So if you guys want to come out August 7th, 7 p.m. Wednesday night at 𝚂𝙿𝙸 in Blue Springs, All Chiefed Up in the Spoken Podcast will be chilling for a few hours. So come hang out with us. Come have some awesome barbecue because art is great. And we'd love to have you guys. We'll probably announce it on the show as well next week. But hit up All Chiefed Up and let them know you're going to be making it. And let us know you guys will be out there as well. But in the meantime, awesome show. Like I said, we had an absolute blast with you guys. Hope you guys had a blast. And that's all we got for you guys today. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. So for Trevor Twidwell, for the great Clay Windler who puts all this together on the back end of things, I am Lance Twidwell, the Spoken Podcast. Episode 276 is done, finished, and finito. And until we're back here in 1 week's time, talking about another week closer to the NFL season. We out of this bitch.
Later.